Before Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing, getting you ready for a busy Tuesday show, starting you off at 66 degrees in Baton Rouge. Before we dive in on anything, John, how accurate was that traffic report?
Very, very accurate.
So
just coming in,
it's been up there. The initial accident's been up there. Ray said for over an hour, and he's kind of underselling that. It was almost 2 hours ago that accident happened, the one that's on the bridge. But now the word of the stalled 18-wheeler on the back end of that is going to continue to slow things down as volume builds. So what's bad to start off with is going to be a while before we're all good and cleared up. All right, we got a busy Wednesday show for you. Richard Sprinkle's going to be in for Legally Served as Franz Borghardt is out today. We got Attorney General Liz Murrill in our next hour. We got Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser in our last hour. We got Jason Suitt from Visit Baton Rouge talking Super Bowl in the third hour. And, of course, D.C. Current is back today. Congresswoman Julia Letlow slated to join us at 8:35. Looking like that's going to be her slot, Wednesday, 8:35. So, all that being said, let's go ahead and get started with top stories and trending.
Number 5.
Mayor President Sid Edwards says his new office in North Baton Rouge is going to give residents an easier way to express complaints or ideas. Going to be located inside the Mayor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, a.k.a. MOSEP. Edwards says the satellite office is going to reduce problems with transportation and with access. Its opening date is slated for Monday.
Number 4.
LSU cannot be forced to put embattled LSU law professor Ken Levy back in the classroom without a full hearing on the evidence. This, according to the First Circuit Court of Appeal ruling from yesterday. Board of Supervisors has asked the court Monday to review a 19th JDC ruling ordering the university to let him return to teaching. This will be our topic when Richard Sprinkle's in 20 minutes from right now.
Number 3.
Bill Cassidy has voted yet. Do you have the Cassidy cuts yet? I need cut 2 in this one here. No sweat. We got it. We'll have it for next hour. Bill Cassidy has voted yes to move forward with the nomination of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the next head of HHS. We're going to dive in on this at 6:50 and then again 7:50. It is I think it's a pretty big story when you have a lifelong doctor, well before he was a politician. He was a doctor, and he had to battle with this one a little bit. And we got to witness the different sides of this battle. I'm going to save all my any takes and opinions on it till later on. But for now, Cassidy votes yes.
Number 2.
A Baton Rouge crystal methamphetamine distributor had his property raided and was booked for multiple charges of possession with intent to distribute drugs, according to the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office. 35-year-old Robert Gordon was booked for multiple charges of distribution of crystal meth as well as possession with intent to distribute drugs, including fentanyl pills, powder cocaine, crack cocaine, and the aforementioned meth.
Number 1.
Got to hop back up on that interstate right there. That accident on the bridge, on the new bridge, is it's a nasty little bugger to start off your morning, to be sure. What we're looking at is delays of it probably sets you back about 30 minutes as of right now, but not as far as the delays are concerned. The accident itself is still on the board, but the accident should be in the clearing stages. That being said, though, having a stalled vehicle right on the heels of it is not going to help matters. What's trending there, John?
Well, millions of Americans are set to feel the chill as a rare polar vortex weather event smashes into the country. Forecasters have said residents should look out for snow and ice over the coming weeks as the wintry weather heads south for the Arctic in mid-February.
Okay, so I don't know yet if we're going to get this. Are we going to get this? Are we going to see any of this?
No, great because if we do, right?
The story said mid-February. I saw the same story you did.
Yeah.
The story said mid-February, and there's 28 days in February. Next Friday would be Valentine's Day, February 14th. Right. Next Friday would also be the opening of LSU baseball season, by the way. But your high in the middle of February is 72. So it doesn't seem very vortexy to me.
It doesn't. But you know what? It happens, right? We see these drastic changes in weather, and I don't even doubt it, right? I mean,
I don't doubt it, but like, I don't think we're going to get it.
Right, how probable it is, really.
Yeah, well, it's like 2 weeks ago when everybody was saying February 6th was going to be brutal.
Yeah.
That's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right, like brutally cold.
Right.
I don't know if this is the same vortex. They were just off by a week and a half or what.
Yeah, maybe it just got pushed back.
Yeah. What else you got going?
Both, what was it? I don't want to mispronounce this. Tulsi Gabbard?
Yes.
Okay. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. moved forward towards their cabinet seats.
Yep. Both of them get the nod from committee yesterday. They will both move forward to a full Senate vote. Once you're heading to the full Senate, I don't want to say it's rubber stamp, but if it goes off on party lines, then it's, then you got no problems, to be sure.
For sure.
Robert F. Kennedy, I honestly thought was going to be a bit of an issue. I knew Senator Cassidy was going to vote yes, and I'm not just saying that the morning after he says yes. I said that Monday when we talked with Moon.
You did, yeah.
And last week when we talked with the guy from the Heritage Foundation. The guy from the Heritage Foundation was like, no, he's not voting yes. I'm like, The way he set things up, the way Cassidy said in his closing comments during questioning, when he said, I'm going to talk to you over the weekend, that was when I knew. Because all of his concerns, I said I wasn't going to get into takes right now. All of his concerns about vaccines, he wasn't going to pigeonhole RFK Jr. on the record, and he wasn't going to pigeonhole himself on the record. He was going to work out, because the vaccines are the only thing standing in the way.
Yep.
When you look at the grand scope of health in America, when you look at all of it, yes, the vaccines are a big deal. We do not want to reintroduce smallpox or polio to our populace. I get that, okay? But we got childhood obesity is a huge thing. Adult obesity is a huge thing. Right. We've got heart disease is rampant. Diabetes is rampant. Just every time you turn around, there's something else popping up. And we also have a level of, a lack of transparency when it comes to our world of health. And I think RFK Jr. is going to be good at that, or good at fixing that. And I think if I'm Bill Cassidy, I'm like, man, I like all of these things over here, and I dislike this thing over here. Yeah. How can I reconcile that? Yeah. And having an off-the-record conversation, just having a mano-a-mano back and forth, that's how you reconcile it.
That's it. In other news, the Army has had its best recruitment totals in 12 years in December of 2024, the first full month after Trump was reelected. That was followed by the best recruiting numbers in 15 years as of January 2025, the month in which Trump officially took office.
All right, I'll take it.
People are recruiting, man.
Signing up, let's go.
Right. Yeah.
Signing up, let's go.
Man.
Gonna ship everybody out to Gaza. No. That's we're not diving into that topic. I so badly want to. We're not diving into that topic. All right, that is your look at top stories and trending. We got a break. We'll check traffic in just a little bit. Coming back, it is Super Bowl week. Let's talk about it next. What you say, Richard? Did I miss a text, or you got in with no problem? Gotcha. Ooh, I saw some of the comments of the professor. I'm kind of changing my mind on this one. From he didn't need to be booted from the classroom to he did. Okay. Based on the nature of the comments. Fuck that guy. Yeah. You can tell me I'm not here. You don't need my political opinions. You need my political opinions. No, that's not the role. I understand that.
About people that are going into the legal profession, they're going to hear shit they disagree with all day long.
That's fine. That's fine as long as it stays to the context of the classroom.
I mean, in the context of legal profession, how is preparing future lawyers not?
Okay. How is fuck Jeff Landry preparing a future lawyer at all?
Well, why not?
How does it serve them at all? Not why not. Don't answer a question with a question.
No.
That's how does that serve them at all?
Forcing them to engage with what's going on and keep their.
Oh no, sir. There was nothing inviting or engaging about that.
Why not? He's inviting people to disagree with him.
At what point? At what point does he say?
They have the opportunity at any time to disagree with him.
I disagree with that entirely. Look, I only saw select portions of the transcript. I didn't see the part where he said, "Please retort," because my opinion is no more or less valid than your opinion.
No, I'm sure Ken never said
At no point did he. At no point did he say. Yeah. At no point did he say, "We will value the debate greater than we will your opinion."
that. So the law on it is pretty nebulous, as one would typically imagine. There's been a lot of discussion about First Amendment rights in the context of employment, and particularly with government employees. Because that brings up an interesting question.
Yeah.
I mean, let's speak out against my boss. In the private sector, I get booed immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Because who do the constitutional amendments protect you from?
Constitutional amendments should protect you from the government.
That's it, though.
Right.
Like the freedom of speech doesn't protect Rich from anything Brian says, or vice versa. It's only it prevents from governmental interference to your speech.
Correct. But it's different for. No, it's different because freedom of speech only protects you from going to jail for your speech. It's different when it affects your payroll because now you've got interference with earning a living based on what? Talk 107.3 and Citizens Bank and Trust want to help cover your car payments. It's a $5,000 grand prize with a bonus chance to win free car washes from Benny's Car Wash for 6 months. We're also letting you earn extra entries for our little contest by subscribing to our Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge YouTube channel. Sign up. Visit talk1073.com. Super Bowl. Going to be a happy homecoming for Kansas City Chiefs safety Justin Reed. Borrowing this from our news partners over at Louisiana Radio Network. Reed's a Prairieville native. Played his high school ball at Dutchtown. He's a flying lion out there. That's before moving to Stanford. Reed says he's excited to be playing in the biggest game on the world stage in front of family and friends.
I get to see so many familiar faces. I'm right at home in the city. I kind of know where everything is already. I know the people. I have a whole flock of family coming out to support.
It's always a cool thing. Another member of the Chiefs with Louisiana ties, defensive line coach Joe Cullen. He held the same position with LSU way back in 1999 under then head coach Jerry DiNardo. Cullen says he's excited for the chance to help the Chiefs to an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl win.
Every year you start the season off hoping and wishing, but we kept grinding. Now we're having an opportunity to make history.
Keeping it with the Chiefs coaches, talking about head coach Andy Reid, put all speculation about his future to rest yesterday. During Andy Reid's media availability, he said he will not retire and will return to the Chiefs next season.
I enjoy being around the guys. I enjoy football, the game. You can't put in the hours that we do and not enjoy it. I love the game.
A little preview here for the Super Bowl. It will be where it will be broadcast. You're going to hear it on our sister station, 104.5 ESPN. You'll also hear it right here on Talk 107.3. However, right here on Talk 107.3 FM, we got LSU women's basketball leading up to it. So we will join the game in progress. We will have the simulcast, but we will join the game in progress or the coverage in progress, depending on when the women wrap up their game. Speaking of LSU, and no, I'm not speaking of LSU because I have a little frozen laptop right here. So men's basketball will be at it tonight. Dadgummit. My apologies, y'all. Moving from website to website. Men's basketball is back at it tonight, and they are today's the 5th at Georgia. Late tip-off, 8 p.m. is your tip-off tonight. You're going to hear that one on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. This is SEC road wins are darn near impossible. Well, I shouldn't say darn near impossible, but they're tough to come by this year, especially for LSU. But Georgia is definitely a beatable team. After tonight, the Tigers will come back home to play Ole Miss on Saturday in the Maravich Assembly Center. It's 6:20. Here comes the Fox Business Report. Unbelievable. Come on over, Rich.
Full disclosure, I have not read all 80 pages of this transcript.
Do what?
I have not read all 80 pages.
Nobody has.
Hi, Kelly. I cannot hear anyone but the host. Is that normal? No, that's not normal. But speaking to Mr. Richard here, and he was off mic, so that's why.
Why not? I recorded every class I was in. I had the little mini cassette recorder. You get a better transcription of notes that way.
I thought that was the same too. But we were absolutely told no recording of classes when I was at law school. Don't know.
Wonder why?
Don't know.
Couldn't be because you don't want what's said in class to be shared after the fact.
Oh, I don't know.
Same reason you don't bring a camera to a bachelor party.
Maybe they were worried about copyright infringement. I have no idea. We're talking about lawyers, so they worry about everything.
No, I understand, but this is a part of the conversation, though.
Yeah.
Is they are at a public university.
Sure.
And they have carte blanche to dictate whatever the F they want?
No, I mean, absolutely not. There's certain restrictions on speech. Free speech is never absolute. We'll get into all that.
Yeah.
No yelling fire in a theater.
But if there's no recording to show that you yelled fire, how can you prove they yelled fire?
Witnesses. Witnesses. When you hear the balancing tests on that they're going to apply to his speech, you're going to be even more befuddled about what's going to happen next. Honestly, I was trying to get my hands on the First Circuit's ruling and see if there's any reasoning behind it that they gave.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt they did because it was like an emergency thing. It was probably just literally said denied.
Yeah.
That's the way the First Circuit does it. So,
well, and so the second part of this is it's probably the right call to keep him out until there's a hearing.
Until there's a full-blown hearing, I would think. Right.
I'm going to be no help.
Although the hearing's coming up soon, so he only teaches that class 2 days a week. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's in there every day.
All right, heading back to the Shawbills Tire Traffic Center. Here's what we got going on right now. A lot of delays still on I-10 westbound, making your way through Baton Rouge. In fact, delays start all the way back by the 10-12 merge and then continue all the way up to the bridge. This is due to an earlier 5-car accident and now a stalled 18-wheeler to go along with it. Backing things up a little bit further on I-12 westbound coming in from Denham Springs, you're going to see your normal volume hopping on at range and then on and off intermittent volume all the way up until the merge. And when you get to that merge, you'll pretty much come to a stop. It'll be slow going at best. I-10 westbound coming in from Ascension Parish looks great until you get to the 10-12 merge. I-10 eastbound coming in from West Baton Rouge Parish looks great, as does 110 right now. On your surface streets, man, I would love to tell you what's going on the surface streets. I just don't have internet right now. So we're going to have to wait another 10 minutes to check in with Ray for our next check of traffic right here on Talk 107.3. .624, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We're going to dive into Legally Served in exactly 60 seconds. We got Richard Sprinkle in from the Longman Jack-Yaback Law Firm. He's pinch hitting for Franz Borghardt today. Before we do that, though, got to remind you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. FlyBTR.com is your launching pad. Well, it's your runway, if you will. FlyBTR.com is where you want to get started checking flights, booking flights. If you've already got your flight, you want to check your departure times, make sure everything's on schedule. FlyBTR.com has got you covered there. If you're planning the family vacation right now, looking ahead to the summertime, give FlyBTR.com a significant look. And don't just look at ticket prices, okay? Look at the whole package. And don't just look at direct flights. If you've got a layover, look at the whole package. How long's that layover? An hour? Well, how long's the drive to New Orleans? And how long's the drive back? And how much you paying for parking? And battling that snake of a TSA line down there versus what's unbelievably pleasant when you fly BTR. It's just such a better experience. Check them out online, flybtr.com. Oh, by the way, direct flights to D.C. are available. In fact, they've got their own website for that, too, flybtr2dc.com, flybtr2dc.com. Time for Legally Served. They just refuse to put spots in the 8 o'clock hour. Pinch hitting for Franz this morning. We got Richard Sprinkle in from the Longman Jack-You-Back Law Firm. How are you, man?
Doing great, Brian. How you doing today?
I am doing well today as well. So we got a doozy this morning.
Yeah.
And
a little something going on.
A little bit. Let's just start with the basics here. LSU cannot be forced to put Ken Levy back in the classroom without a full hearing on the evidence. This according to the First Circuit Court of Appeals. Now, Ken Levy's not in the classroom. Right. Because of a number of comments that were made in the classroom and then complaints that followed from it.
Right.
The 19th JDC said, stick it. He can say whatever he wants to, and you just have to deal with it, so put him back in the classroom.
I don't think he said that. But
I mean,
he granted the TRO.
When you read some of his comments, there's very little that he doesn't say. So,
are you talking about the judge at the 19th? Or
no, I'm talking about there's very little that Levy didn't say.
Oh, well.
I mean,
he has opinions.
Yes, he does have opinions, and that's what we want to talk about right here. Is I want to cover the legal aspect of this as to whether or not they're following the right procedures. Honestly, I think keeping him out for a full-on hearing, once all sides are heard, then make a call one way or the other.
Right.
But until that time, you have to err to the side of caution. The same way when a police officer is being investigated for an incident, they're put on paid leave, right?
Right.
So why would this be any different?
Well, okay, so the point of a temporary restraining order is to make sure that no immediate and irreparable harm can come to the person or the thing or what have you, before a full hearing is made on the matter.
Mm-hmm.
Money's up for grabs here because they're talking about suspending the guy, not paying him. But see, money's fungible. You can always give money back. But so that's not an irreparable
and also that's
harm,
contingent upon the hearing as well,
right? And
not the time up until he doesn't get paid per class, does he?
Well, no. But I mean, if they were to make his suspension retroactive to that day,
right?
You see, then it would be. So my point is, while I've got opinions on the matter as well, I don't know that I don't know that the First Circuit overturning the 19th JDC's granting of the TRO is inappropriate. In other words, I think there's room for that, to make that argument.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, I think my comparison to a police officer is apt here.
Right.
If he's doing damage to these students, they're not damage in terms of like a cop roughing somebody up, but in terms of training them to be lawyers,
right?
And or just good citizens to go out into the world. If he's doing damage on that front, yeah, you hold him back for a little bit. Are we already up to? No, it's 1 minute, not 30 seconds. Yeah. Sorry.
Whew.
I know. But wow. if he's doing any damage on that front, yes, sit on the sidelines and just wait.
Right.
That's bigger than not bigger than the hearing itself, but just the way things should be.
But Right. If he's literally doing some sort of irreparable harm, that's one thing. Or if keeping him out of the classroom would create irreparable harm to him, that would be one thing. But
Okay,
see, his
now,
TRO is saying you're making the irreparable harm towards
how?
Well, it's his job, his reputation, his finances, the whole 9 yards.
Didn't he put all that in his own hands when he decided to say F the governor and F Donald Trump?
Well, he was relying on the protections of the First Amendment.
Where do the protections of the First Amendment stop? Because where they start is, as I understand it, you're not guaranteed your salary because of the First Amendment. You're guaranteed not to be locked up by the government.
No. But long story short, the government can create no law abridging the freedom of speech. I mean, that's the Reader's Digest condensed version.
And that's what we're going to have to unpack on the back end. We're coming up on news right here at Talk 107.3 FM. We'll check in with ABC first and local news, traffic, weather. Richard Sprinkle continues next. See, that's the fun part of the conversation, is if I say F Jeff Landry and I say F Donald Trump, and I say, no, you will hear my opinions because you need to hear my opinions. Well, first and foremost, nobody's grade is dependent upon what I say.
Right.
You have the freedom to change the channel.
Right.
A person going to law school does not have the freedom to say, you know what, I'm just not going to have this class. I mean, it's
not depending on which class it is. Right.
Class.
Right. You may have to take that class.
Right. And if they do have, I would imagine the First Amendment's a pretty big one when putting together your law degree.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he has a captive audience.
Unless you take media law, it's not that big of a deal. But anyway.
Okay.
I mean, they do talk about it in con law.
But one would hope.
Of course.
Well, if you're talking Constitution, one would hope you would start
they gloss over it a little bit. You know?
But my thing is, he has a captive audience.
Right.
They don't have the option to go anywhere else.
No.
They're not allowed to be exposed. Well, they don't have the opportunity to be exposed to other opinions. For the exact same reason that the argument is you can't put the 10 Commandments on the wall because your other options aren't present. These other options are now. I know the 10 Commandments is all the way down to grade school.
They are present because they're only quote unquote captive for that hour, and then they're going to get up and go to another class to another professor who's got different opinions.
What their grades are going to be in terms of being scored, and I know you could say all day long your grade isn't contingent upon agreeing with the professor, but everybody who's been to college knows it's a lot easier when you do.
Okay, so it is easier if you get along in life. Let's just in general.
That's right.
I mean, but I think any student, is particularly a law student, who could show that their exam answers were tanked because they disagreed with a professor's political views would have a huge argument, much stronger than the one that is going on here, because obviously what happened was he said some things about the governor. One of the members of the class didn't appreciate it and went and reported him for it. That's how this happened.
I'm looking for more of the quotes, and I'm not finding more.
You can't say them on the air. That's just it.
Oh, I know.
He yelled about, "Don't record me. If you record me, I'll put you in jail." I don't know what he was experiencing that morning. In reading the transcript, I had this man's classes, okay? And in reading the transcript, this is far more excited than I've ever seen him in my life. I mean, you've seen him on TV. He did legal commentary for WBRZ a lot of times.
I don't watch legal commentary on TV.
But, I mean, if you saw the news, you probably saw him doing a stand-up. They generally had him doing it in his front yard. I've just never, honestly, I thought it was kind of the whole thing just seemed out of character. I just, is this really him? Yes, he gets excitable. Yes, he uses foul language once in a while, but this was a lot. I don't necessarily think he was wrong. Personal opinion, I don't think he can say things like that, regardless of who the president or the governor is.
We have this rule in radio when it comes to dealing with the FCC and fines.
Yeah.
When in doubt, leave it out.
Of course.
That's that, and that, I know that's oversimplified.
Yeah.
But I took that training over at Clear Channel 20 years ago,
and
it sticks today.
Sure.
Okay. When in doubt, leave it out.
Yeah. Actually makes perfect sense.
I am just out of gas, man.
I mean, could he have?
Yesterday was so brutal. As soon as the show was over with, I went down to New Orleans to go to
Oh God.
Media Row
Oh.
and the Louisiana Now exhibit.
Oh.
And then hauled butt to get back here to coach third grade basketball last night.
I had court in Gretna on Monday, which meant I have to drive past it all and go over the bridge.
Yeah.
And guess what I'm doing as soon as I leave this chair today?
Same thing?
Yeah.
You might want to get off at Clearview.
I think I'm going
take
to
Huey,
take Huey.
and then the West Bank Expressway.
I mean, going through town towards Gretna is usually not bad. The worst part to me is the airport, around the airport.
The airport, the airport is not real bad right now, but what I often see when you have a lot of people in from out of town, the is it 310 or 610?
610.
610?
Yeah.
People navigating those lanes. And then again, you got to be on the left side to go
over the bridge.
Right.
Yeah.
And people navigating those back and forth. And also getting off at Chapatoulas. I saw this one firsthand yesterday.
Oh, that was nuts.
Getting off at Chapatoulas is at a stop
Yep.
that's backed up all the way on the interstate.
Yep.
So
that's nuts.
Yeah.
That light down there at the foot of that off-ramp does not stay green long enough.
No, it does not.
These are things that were the same
by
way
the way
10 or 12 years ago when I lived in New Orleans.
Oh, by the way, you're adding the Super Bowl onto an exit where if you've got 18-wheelers going to the port, they're getting off at that exit too. Yeah, leaving the city yesterday, I didn't even bother to go back through the CBD. I went all the way around.
Yeah.
I took Chapatoulas all the way to Henry Clay.
Oh, wow.
Then up to Magazine and then around the river.
Smart.
And then hop back on Causeway.
Smart. Take the scenic route. Stop and get a po' boy at, what's that place, Cooter Brown's.
I drove right past Cooter Brown's.
Yeah. I do miss my old stomping grounds sometimes, but then I get down there and I get stuck in the traffic. Maybe hear a gunshot or two. It brings me back to reality.
Any different here?
Yeah, in my neighborhood.
All right. It is a warm one again. Looking at the forecast, here's McCade Cowan. I had two gunshots right outside my window the other night.
Get out of town, man.
There's a group home across the street from us. Across the street and 2 doors over. And I don't mean like a rehab home or a halfway house where people are trying to get together. I'm talking like for the developmentally disabled once they're grown-ups and whatnot.
Okay.
So the people who take care of them, they have shift change at 11 p.m., and apparently a fight broke out between one of the workers and the person picking her up, and he got all pissed off and fired off 2 shots. Yep. We're going to run all the way to 50 because he's going to go battle traffic. Coming up on 638 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Legally served with attorney Richard Sprinkle rolling right along as well. We're talking about Ken Levy, the LSU professor who was booted from the classroom for a period of time, suspended because of some things that he said. Other things that he said cannot be said on the radio. A lot of them. I mean, it's,
They're just going to have to go read the transcript.
F that, F Donald Trump. Also, a good lean in on I don't have the exact quote in front of me, so I'm going to paraphrase it, and I'm going to do my absolute best to be true to what the nature of what was said. But something to the effect of, you might think I'm here to teach you law and you don't need my political opinion, but you need my political opinion. How does that serve getting a law degree?
Well, in law school, one of the things that's really important is students have to learn how to look at a situation, keep their own personal opinions out of it, apply the law, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we're not all cold stoics at heart. Things affect us. Things shape us. That's quite frankly why there are multiple camps in politics. It's not as simple as black and white ever. But still, for the law student, in order to be effective as an attorney, you are going to have to maintain a degree of clinical emotionless. So him getting the students fired up on one regard is, in my opinion, good training, whether they liked hearing it or didn't like hearing it. But on the other side of it, maybe it was a lot. I don't know. I wasn't
So
there.
rather than pull quotes
Right.
from the 80-page transcript,
Right.
we would need the 80-page transcript to know how much of this.
And it's a bad transcript, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah, it's AI dictation,
Okay.
so it doesn't make a lot of sense. In some
Well, it would be a
regards.
lot better if someone had just straight up recorded it and we could play it back.
Right.
However,
well,
that brings us.
the tapes are on YouTube now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
then we need the full thing in order to know context.
Right.
Because if this is just a political rant, if it's just a political diatribe for no reason at all, not citing any case where it's going to apply to or anything like that, if it's just him going off on politics, I don't know how that serves the student.
Well, it's going to come down to how this is looked at in the courts. I can tell you, and whether you know it or not, you're kind of leading right into that because the First Amendment grants people protections for freedom of speech, protections from the government.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about this off the mics, but it only protects. Everybody says I've got a right to freedom of speech, but that protection only is protecting the individual from censorship by the government, right? So when it protects citizens when they speak on matters of public concern. Okay, so he can say, so-and-so's a bad politician, so-and-so's a bad governor, so-and-so's a bad president, whatever. He can say all of that because that's a matter of public concern. But the protection's balanced against the interests of government as an employer in promoting the efficiency of the public service that it performs through those employees, right? That's some Louisiana jurisprudence right there. All of this stuff is coming from Louisiana. I'm not going to get into the case sites, but I've got it in front of me. The speech of a public employee is constitutionally protected only when it addresses matters of public concern and doesn't interfere with the efficient operation, right, of the public, of whatever public service they're trying to offer. So what's going to come down to in a situation like this, where you got a professor in a school, it's going to come down to a balancing test, right? He may lose his protection if the speech is considered too defamatory or whatever, but long story short, if it's significantly disrupting the functioning of the educational institution. So that might be problematic in his arguments.
Yeah.
But it's also a relatively high bar because there was no disruption during the class, so to speak. The disruption of the education didn't technically happen until later when the student made the complaint.
Right. And
it's not like the students all got up and rioted in the middle of class.
No. Would this be different if they did, though?
Possibly.
Right?
Possibly.
Because if his comments evoked that much emotion from the student, I think you have a completely different story in your
Well,
hands.
then you're looking at the rule of against yelling fire in a theater.
Right.
Right. Something you do sparks an immediate emotional reaction that just causes utter chaos. I mean, that's, inciting a riot, basically.
There's another part to this that I don't know where to go with it, but I think it's worth noting is that the recordings are there of this whole thing.
Right.
But Levy said there was a no recording policy in his classroom.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. From my understanding, and I don't know if this is true or not, but my understanding is there was a student with accommodations who was being allowed to record their classes, which is fine and Jim Dandy. The rule when I went to law school was you couldn't record classes.
Why is that? Because
I have no idea.
Every other class, I recorded every class in college.
I have no idea. We had to be sneaky about taking
mini
pictures
cassette.
of the board and everything. It was weird. Like
It's so baffling to me because you would think if you're a professor, you would want better comprehension and grasp of everything rather than whatever you don't pick up in the 1 second that it comes out of my mouth, it's gone.
Right. I did have one professor express that they believed, and I'm not going to name names, but they believed it was much more important that we were actively engaged in taking notes and not recording and just checked out.
No,
and also,
it's both.
you had to be present. So
Yes.
I know I would like to do both.
Oh, no. I wasn't.
I would love to do both.
Yeah, I wasn't one of those ones that turned on the recorder and left. I mean,
No, they absolutely don't allow that in law school. I can
Yeah,
tell you
no.
that.
If I was just going to turn on the recorder and leave, I'm going to sleep in and go to Note Depot later. Is Note Depot still a thing?
I don't know.
We can find somebody younger.
Yeah.
That's not that I ever did that.
I don't know. I remember Cliff's Notes from back.
Oh
in the
yeah,
day.
of course.
Yeah.
You had the little yellow and black bumblebee looking. No.
There may or may not have been a class outline archive online somewhere when I was in law school.
Yeah.
I can't attest to it one way or the other.
I may or may not have spent way too much money at the Note Depot buying other people's notes. Didn't happen.
Nope.
Oh, yeah, it was right there by the grocery store. All this is gone now.
Oh, okay.
All this is gone now. What's over there by where that CVS is now?
Oh, yeah.
Where Murphy's used to
Yeah,
be.
it's probably a Buffalo Wild Wings now or
I'm
something.
sure. You know what? There is.
Yeah.
All right. Right there by the little hibachi buffet.
Yeah.
Taste and see. Christian-based hibachi buffet.
Hey, man, why not?
I know. All right, couple more points on this one, and you got to skedaddle.
Yeah.
A couple more points on this one, and that is, does your freedom of speech change when you have a captive audience?
Well, typical legal response is that depends.
This is this guy's opinion, right?
Right.
Okay, if I were to spout my opinions, everyone has the chance to turn the channel. You
Right.
can actively walk away.
Right.
When you have a teacher-to-student relationship, that student can't actively walk away if they want that degree.
No. I mean, especially if it's a required class, you've got to take it. And yep, you are stuck for that 1 hour, twice a week, 3 times a week, whenever it is that you're taking the class. But like we were talking earlier, no school will ever allow the policy by a professor that you have to agree with me in your exam or you're getting a bad grade, obviously. Nobody's ever going to allow that policy. And if a student could prove,
right?
If a student could prove that they lost points on an exam because they said something a professor disagreed with, well, obviously we'd have a whole other conversation going on.
Would you agree that while it's not written in policy, it's a tougher bar to clear?
Well, definitely.
Disagreeing with the professor is a tougher bar to clear on your papers than agreeing with the professor.
Well,
Going
sure.
along to getting along makes things easier in life.
It makes things easier in life as a rule. Yep.
Right. The other part of this
Doesn't make
is
it right,
well, and when it comes down to the First Amendment stuff, bleep the governor, F the governor, Donald Trump, saying that, I don't think he's out of his First Amendment bounds there because he didn't make any accusations about them.
Right.
He shared his own opinion on.
Well, you're getting into a type of First Amendment protected speech, and that makes sense because, like, we're talking about media issues where you get into defamation, libel, slander. Those are a little different than just saying F the governor,
Right?
Because you have to make an accusation,
Right?
You have to say he did a thing,
Right?
Or he is a thing, or something like that, and you have to be making a false statement. You got to publish it to a third party in an unauthorized manner, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, just yelling F the governor or F the president is a little different than that. And maybe this isn't a particular type of context argument. I don't know. And again, I haven't read the whole transcript. I understand that there's a lot more to it than one F the governor or 2 F the governors.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a quantity problem. I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh well, so no, there's something to that. Okay,
Right.
Motion Picture Association of America. You have one F word, you can be PG-13.
Right.
You have a second F word, you're rated R.
Right.
All right.
Some poor guy has to count those.
Here in radio, right? Have you ever seen the movie Get Shorty?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever see the sequel to it called Be Cool?
No.
All right. That's where I learned, and I went back and looked it up later on. I know, John, I'm going another deep cut.
It's a good one.
It is a good one. But this is where I learned about the one F word versus 2 F words. One of the opening scenes of the movie, John Travolta sitting like reading a paper.
Right.
He says, if you only say the F word once, you're PG-13, and if you say it twice, you're rated R. F that. And he actually says the word. And it's PG-13.
There you go.
The movie's PG-13.
Well,
So
they got the one out of the way.
Right.
Do it early.
That's how I learned about that.
Do it early.
Anyway, in radio with the FCC, there's words I'm not allowed to say.
Yeah.
Okay, so my free speech doesn't allow, or my level of what I could say doesn't allow it. But I will tell you this: way back when I started in radio, over 20 years ago, I had to take that training.
Sure.
And
You didn't just listen to Carlin's dirty words?
Yes.
I mean, that was enough.
No, well,
right?
there's more than just those. We've added to them. But there's a one-sentence takeaway from the training that I took at Clear Channel 20 years ago.
Sure.
A one-sentence takeaway that's going to stay with me for the rest of my life.
Yep.
When in doubt, leave it out.
Maybe he didn't have any doubt. Maybe he had no doubt.
Maybe he wanted to push
strong
the doubt.
in his convictions. Maybe he wanted to push the
doubt.
Maybe he did.
And maybe he wanted to have the conversation.
But
and if that's the case, then why balk on the suspension?
Right. I don't know.
Let the hearing be heard.
Let it be heard. Well, it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I know this. When I write my screenplay, I'll put in the F word right at the end so
Right
I have to watch the whole movie.
We got less than a minute to go here. Jill Kraft, who represents Leaving the Suit, I'm reading for WBRC's site, said that if the profanity was the problem, then maybe somebody needs to explain to me how Brian Kelly's on TV using the F word directed at students. Is Jill Kraft going to win any points by trying to make the football comparison?
I don't know, but that's not the argument I would have necessarily made.
Yeah.
But honestly, I missed that quote from Brian Kelly.
Oh no, he got into it with what receiver was it? Yeah, it was during a game. Yeah,
during a game.
Yeah, in the heat of the game, just like the heat of the classroom.
Oh, I never had a football coach say anything bad to me on the sidelines.
No.
Ever. He's
Richard Sprinkle. I appreciate your pinch hitting. I believe you're in again next week.
Am I?
If you're available.
All right.
We're late for your money now.
Gun to my head.
Who's the receiver that was hurt all season, then just exploded in the last 4 games?
Oh! I know who you're talking about.
If I had internet, I'm brain farting on his name right now. I don't know why. Oh, my internet's back.
Lacey? Was it? No, not Lacey.
No, Kyron Lacey was the one. He was the next one down. And I don't have Facebook open, and I guarantee you, Facebook is like yelling at me what this guy's name is.
They're good about that. They are.
That's the one. That's the one. Yep, Chris Hilton Jr.
My argument here on the whole Levy thing is, I'm gonna borrow a quote from one of our former secretaries of state. What difference does it make? He said the words, the class is over. What difference does it make?
Yeah, my guess though is this is
in a teapot.
My guess though is this is not in a vacuum.
What, those comments?
Yeah,
probably not. Well, they had a problem last year where they went after a professor who basically voiced his disagreement with both Trump and Landry, and I mean, frankly, that raised a whole lot of issues. Like, wait a minute, are we going to start?
So the other part of the argument here that I didn't get into, what would happen if a college professor wanted to re-argue, say, the 14th Amendment?
The president's busy doing that already.
Come on. But
that job's taken, man.
Listen, bitches belong in the kitchen, okay? If I'm a college professor and I said that, do you think I would survive to see the next day?
No, you would not.
Okay, but I can say fuck Jeff Landry. I'm making the same argument he is. I'm just spouting my opinion, that's all.
But you remember from media law classes, too, people in offices of public power or whatever, they kind of open themselves up to being, mocked, ridiculed, having disparaging comments. And, I mean, is F the governor really going to hurt anybody at the end of the day?
No, but if it does lend back towards, if you want to get anywhere in life, you need to get in line with my opinions as a professor.
Well, yeah.
Because I believe that line's being crossed.
We've just gotten so polarized in our politics over the past 20 years. I just feel like this is just a harbinger of things to come.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I agree.
All right, guys.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate it. I'll text you because I don't know how long Franz is out.
I don't either. What is he doing this time? All I know is Italy.
Yeah.
Back from Europe? What's going on?
Yeah. Must be nice.
As long as he's not doing a lot of the things he used to do.
100%. What? He was talking. Kill the mic. He was talking. We were talking about how, like, John. Thank you. All right, I'm going to want Cassidy 3 and 7 in this one. Possibly 3, 4, and 7.
3, 4, 7. Okay. Yeah, I got them. So just whatever, however you want to do it.
No, sorry, 3, 6, and 7. 6:55, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. All right, thanks again to Attorney Richard Sprinkle from the Longman Jackie Back Law Firm for filling in for Franz right there. Great discussion. Even more so had during the breaks. If you're not watching us on Facebook Live, you kind of should be. Either on Facebook Live or the Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge YouTube channel. The show is available on both of them. In fact, not just there, but if you download the Talk 107.3 mobile app, you can find out what you missed each day at talk107.3.com or check in on the live. It's all brought to you by Lake Urgent Care. Lake Urgent Care, walk-in care for minor illnesses and injuries. But thanks to Richard for filling in there. Very, very, very good discussion because there's a lot more to discuss. There's a lot more to break down. I appreciate his time. So yesterday, Senator Cassidy went ahead and gave the yes vote. It was the question that a lot of people were asking, was he going to do it? Was Senator Cassidy going to, quote unquote, get in line with the Republican Party? Or was he going to look to, I don't want to say screw over Donald Trump, but be the objector, be the fly in the ointment, the monkey in the wrench, the pain in the, to quote John McClane. And turns out Senator Cassidy did vote yes to approve or to move forward the nomination of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the Secretary of Health and Hospitals. Here was Senator Cassidy giving his remarks, talking about the battle that he underwent within himself in discerning his vote. Cut 3, please.
Before entering politics, before ever thinking about running for political office, I practiced medicine for 30 years in a public hospital for the uninsured, caring for those who otherwise would not have been able to afford the access to the care that I provided. After seeing patients die from vaccine-preventable diseases, I dedicated much of my time to vaccine research and immunization programs, personally witnessing the safety monitoring and the effectiveness of immunization. Put simply, vaccines save lives.
He continued on a little bit later on in his it was about an 8.5, 9-minute speech. He continued on talking about how he's not the only one in the medical community who has this position.
Now, the most notable opponents of Mr. Kennedy were pediatricians on the front lines of our children's health who regularly have to combat misinformation, combating vaccine skepticism with correct information that comes from their education, their training, and experience as physicians. They are aware of the falling vaccine rates and the inevitability of increasing hospitalizations and deaths of children from vaccine-preventable diseases. They are aware that children are now contracting diseases that they would not have contracted if the child was vaccinated.
So clearly, vaccines was the whole vaccination topic was a big issue for Dr. Cassidy. Now, I don't want to get into arguing about vaccines because for the large majority, the overwhelming majority of the medical community, that argument's over with. And, oh, by the way, if you're anti-vaccine, I'm not going to talk you into it. There's nothing that I can say that you haven't already heard. You've made up your mind as well. I don't want to debate that. What I want to talk about, and we only got 20 seconds, we're going to talk about this again at the end of next hour as well, But my bigger thing here is Senator Cassidy pushed away from the vaccine seat and looked at the whole board and voted for Robert Kennedy to say, will he do good overall? Not in any one particular category, but overall. Here comes news. As soon as the show is over with, Cade is going to walk you through getting Moon's in studio today. Cade is going to walk you through how to get him up and running.
He's doing it here, or is he? Oh, okay.
Hey, blow out the weather story as a trending and lead with all 67 bodies from the plane crash above the Potomac have been recovered. Okay, so been back through my settings a million times over. I physically can't change how long it takes before my computer goes to sleep. And I don't know why.
Well, it seems pretty, I don't know, it's kind of odd. Because that should definitely be something you should be able to adjust.
Mm-hmm. Moon's going to be here in less than 5 minutes. Shit. Cassidy 2 within top stories, please.
Okay.
Sounds good. 7:05 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. We are starting off your second hour at 66 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Got a busy hour this hour. Attorney General Liz Murrill joining us at 7:15. Let's talk about staying 25 feet back from cops when they're trying to do their job. Also this hour, Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser at 7:35. It is Wednesday of Super Bowl week. All right, y'all, today's a big day in Super Bowl week, all right? There are steps along the way. As we get closer to Super Bowl Sunday, things continue to grow, all right? But Wednesday's when a lot of the national talent rolls in, and you start to see a lot more shows generate from New Orleans. A lot of reporters are already there. Last night, there was a big party for 6,000 press people over at Mardi Gras World. 6,000 people reporting back home as to what's going on in the Big Easy, and getting a look at the whole thing. And they got fed, and they ate, they drank, they had a great time. I didn't make it out to it, but because morning show, right? But 6,000 members of the media had the party last night. We're going to talk about that and all the events to come with Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. Right now, though, we start off your second hour with top stories and trending.
Number 5.
Number 5 actually starts us over on the other side of the river. 3 people were arrested for their involvement in a deputy-involved shooting in West Baton Rouge Parish on Sunday. West Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office arrested 17-year-old Javen Edwards, 21-year-old Eugene George Jr., and 19-year-old Terrell Davis for their involvement in the shooting. Apparently, a deputy attempted to pull over a suspect vehicle on Grimion Road after getting reports of shots fired on North River Road. Passenger got out with a rifle and a handgun, leading the officer to shoot the suspect. That suspect sustained non-life-threatening injuries. Authorities said the driver of the vehicle fled, but was caught shortly thereafter. A third occupant of the vehicle was taken into custody on the scene.
Number 4.
Oh, still coughing. Mayor President Suitt Edwards said the new office that he's setting up in North Baton Rouge will give residents an easier way to express complaints or ideas. Going to be located inside MOSEP, the Mayor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. Coach says the satellite office is going to reduce problems with transportation and access, and it is slated to open on Monday.
Number 3.
LSU cannot be forced to put embattled LSU law professor Ken Levy back in the classroom without a full hearing on the evidence, the First Circuit Court of Appeal ruled yesterday. Board of Supervisors asked the court on Monday to review the 19th Judicial District ruling ordering the university to let him return to teaching. There's a full hearing going to be coming up in just 5 days. The full hearing coming up on the 10th.
Number 2.
Bill Cassidy has voted yes to move forward with the nomination of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the next head of HHS. Cassidy 2, please.
I want Mr. Kennedy to succeed in making America healthy again.
His nomination now moves to the full Senate floor.
Number 1.
A Baton Rouge crystal methamphetamine distributor had his property raided, was booked for multiple charges of possession with intent to distribute drugs, according to the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office. 35-year-old Robert Gordon was booked for multiple charges of not just distribution of crystal meth, as well as possession with intent to distribute, but also his charges included fentanyl pills, powder cocaine, crack cocaine, and the aforementioned meth. All right, John, what's trending?
Well, bodies of all 67 victims of the American Airlines flight in Black Hawk helicopter have been recovered. That crash.
Man.
66, I hear, bodies have been identified.
Okay.
And there's still one that hasn't.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think flight records. Like, how
Right.
many times do you flash your ID getting on a plane?
Right.
Like, just your boarding pass alone.
Yeah, according to sources, at this time, 66 of the remains have been positively identified. The agency added, this marks a significant step.
Oh,
in
you know
bringing
what?
closure to the families.
You know what? I wonder if that's not a matter of they know who it is but haven't contacted family yet or haven't heard back from family yet. That's possible.
Absolutely.
Because you got a much bigger problem if you have someone on a plane who you have no idea who it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But I would think in deference to the tragedy within a family, yeah, they keep it out.
Right. Makes sense. Gotcha. All right. So both Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy move forward towards their cabinet seats.
Kind of a big
As we've
deal.
been- yeah.
Kind of a big deal. Those were two of the bigger names that were going to get a lot of protestation along the way. You know, the next one up, though, is where is Linda McMahon in the process? Where is
come
she
on.
at? No, seriously.
No, I know,
Secretary of
but,
Education.
yeah.
But, I mean,
True, yeah.
RFK Jr., I think, was going to be the biggest obstacle for Donald Trump to get everybody he wanted. There's a clear cut to me. And if he can clear the hurdle, I don't see how anybody else can't.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, what else you got going?
Even if, yeah. Hey, the Army has had its best recruitment totals in 12 years in December of 2024, the first full month after Trump was reelected. That was followed by the best recruiting numbers in 15 years as of January 2025, the month in which Trump officially took office.
Clearly a nod, huh?
Yeah.
Clearly a nod from those signing up, saying this is still a country worth fighting for.
That's it.
It's also Donald Trump has a track record of wanting to get out of war, not into war, so that's a positive. I mean, if you're looking to sign up,
Right.
but
Hey,
okay.
you know what? That may also play into it. Maybe.
a little bit for
A little
sure.
bit of both, yeah.
Yeah. That should look at what's trending as well. We are due up for a quick break. When we come back from that break, Attorney General Liz Murrill is going to join us. Before we take that break, though, got to remind you about the folks over at Landmark Bank. Okay, if you're within the city limits of Baton Rouge, you're not going to find a Landmark Bank right here. However, if you are in the surrounding area, you likely will. Your locations of Landmark Bank are going to be found in Clinton, in Greensburg, 2 in Zachary, 1 in Denham Springs, and then brand new over on the west side in Bruley. And there's a reason for that. Some of the smaller towns around, some of the more bedroom communities, if you will, this is where Landmark Bank is at their best, by having relationships with the people that have relationships with them, by knowing your banker. Their strength is in the relationship. They've got all the technology you need. Yes, you're not going to fall to the wayside from that. But what you get with Landmark Bank is a personal touch. They've been around for over 100 years doing business this way. If you're doing business this way for over 100 years, you're doing something right. And they've been doing folks right in the capital area for like I said, over 100 years. Personal banking, business banking, they've got you covered. They've got digital services available as well. Check them out online at landmarkbankla.com, landmarkbankla.com. Zachary, Denham, Bruley. Check them out at landmarkbankla.com. You need Liz's number. You need Liz's number? Here you go, 225. I am so far behind Facebook. How y'all doing this morning? This week is flying by, and yet the Super Bowl still feels like it's never going to get here. Troy says, I appreciate the thoughtful reasoning and conditions that Senator Cassidy described to gain his vote. Of course, it'll be banned by both the far right and the left because they're both sheep. I would say cynical. I would replace sheep with cynical. Because it's possible, like, you're not kowtowing to a party. You're voting your heart, which ultimately is what we're supposed to send there to do. All right. 7:15, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Last week, the decision was handed down that the 25-foot buffer zone to not impede law enforcement was going to be booted. Joining us now to talk about the decision is our Attorney General, Liz Murrill. Liz, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Brian. How are you?
I am doing very well. I appreciate you hopping on to talk about this. I know when the decision first came down, you'd put out a press release saying you still needed to read the full decision. What's your takeaways at this point?
You know, Brian, I mean, from the beginning and at the oral argument on the briefing with the judge, we expected this ruling to come out the way that it did. So it's not a surprise. I mean, I think that we were planning to have to deal with this at the Court of Appeal. Mm-hmm. I still believe that it is a reasonable time, place, and manner restriction. It is not a restriction nobody has notice of, because when you are in an encounter with the police, they have to tell you to stand back, and they have to tell you to stand back the right distance. So, you know, I think the burden is on the police to identify what that zone is, but once that happens, then the burden falls to the person who's been told to stand back to stay back. And I don't believe there is a First Amendment right to stand, 10 feet in front of a police officer as opposed to 25 feet when they are trying to carry out their lawful duties in keeping the peace.
All right, let's talk about the presses into this one, because it's media that's fighting back on it. Is there a difference in your mind? And look, as a member of the media, I don't feel like there's a difference between 10 and 25 feet as far as getting my job done. And if I were a photographer or camera operator, I don't see that making a huge difference either. Is there a difference legally in like how close you should be to be able to quote unquote catch the story?
No, I mean, you have sort of a First Amendment right to not have the government interfere with your rights to speak and to certain conduct. I think that the right the press doesn't really have this constitutional right to stand next and film the police. Like, that's just not kind of the way it's captured. You do have a right to observe government. You have a right to observe government in action, and so I think that all of that is kind of rolled up in this debate. But what we're talking about here is when police are being interfered with. And if you think about some of these big crowds recently, for example, where we saw a lot of protests regarding immigration, and people were surrounding police officers to intimidate them and prevent them from doing their jobs. That's what this law was intended to balance, was to be able to create that zone where the police can do their jobs and everybody else still has the ability to film or protest or, declare themselves opposed to whatever policy it is they want to oppose. So I think that it is reasonable. It is possible that the legislature could go back and say, look, we're going to carve this back and say it's 15 feet or 10 feet, and they could test that same, question about whether there's some difference between 10 feet and 25 feet.
But if you follow that along, and I can't help but think that if you say it's 20 instead of 25, or you say it's 15 instead of 20, the argument from the media is going to be, I'm not walking around every day with a rangefinder, like I don't have exact measurements. I could be found guilty of interfering with police or breaking this buffer zone with, no ill intention of my own, or I set up my tripod and the incident moved closer to me. Like,
right.
Is there a concern that it's going to get down to a matter of like bringing out the chain gang from a football, measuring for a first down type of, is that the concern, that they're a battle of inches?
Maybe. I don't think that it's really that. I think as realistically, I don't think that that's that big of a risk, because the police have to tell you where to stay away from.
Right.
So, you're not the one trying to guess. They're the ones having to tell you where you need to be. And I think that, again, we're talking about when they're trying to carry out their duties and they're saying, I need you to stand back. And, the truth is right now, the zone is 0. The zone is wherever the police tell you, get out of my way, I'm trying to do my job. If you interfere with that, you can be arrested. And so, if you're standing in a safe area where they told you that it's okay, you actually have less risk. So, I think that this debate doesn't always capture the real situation. I mean, if you are standing there and a police officer is trying to do his job and you get in the way, they can arrest you.
Which only lends to the media's safety on this regard. And I'm having trouble with the part I'm struggling with is, how do you tell less of a story from 15 feet further back or 25 feet further back? Like, I don't see that you tell less of a story because of that. I don't see that this lends to any lack of transparency on law enforcement's end, or it doesn't affect the scenario at all.
I think that's exactly right. It really does not interfere with anybody's ability to cover a story or engage in lawful protest. What it does prevent is interfering with the police, and it protects the police. We've had situations where frozen water bottles are thrown at the police. Other things are thrown at the police. People jump on their cars and try to interfere with them being able to do their jobs. I mean, that conduct is illegal.
Right.
But, we're just trying to make sure that there's a buffer so that the police can do their work. Everybody else can cover it, do what they want, make sure that they're engaging in their lawful activities of protesting or coverage. I don't see how this interferes with that at all.
All right, here comes the tough part of the conversation. We're talking with Attorney General Liz Murrill. All right, here comes the tough part of the conversation, and that is, how do we battle the difference between the letter of the law and the common sense? Because I feel like there's room on the common sense end for everyone just to play along with the law as it's written and not have to get down into that battle of inches. But when you put things into writing, when you put things into law, words have meaning. How do you balance that?
I think one of the ways that you balance that is by letting the law go into effect and seeing what its real impact is. We have these challenges. They're called facial challenges to the law, where, everybody gets their hackles up and they go in and they say, we're going to challenge that law. It's unconstitutional. And so they take it in front of the judge, and nobody ever sees what happens when the law goes into effect. And this, I think, is one of those laws where it is, in my opinion, a reasonable time, place, and manner restriction. There is a real meaningful justification for this law. And I think that the burden is on the police to identify what the zone is. So that if that were to actually go into effect, then we would find out if some of these concerns are actually going to come into play. And if there was a challenge, you could have an as-applied challenge. You could take that to court, and we would be seeing what the law is doing in its real application instead of this hypothetical kind of guessing game of what we think could or might happen.
Is there there's always a potential for unintended consequences here. Is there a concern that if the law remains and that 25-foot buffer zone is put back into place, that police could be subject to that same infraction if they tell somebody to stand further back? Because Attorney General Liz Murrill, or I guess Attorney General Murrill, if you're on the scene, I don't see a scenario where a police officer says, you get back 25 feet. I see a scenario where the police officer says, get on the other side of the sidewalk, or go back to that, stand by the tree or by the stop sign. like you would have a point of reference and not an actual
Right.
measurement. Is there the possibility of an unintended consequence of a police officer saying get back and it's actually a little bit further than 25 feet?
I mean, look, they can do that now, depending on what the situation is. If they need to set up a perimeter and that perimeter is greater than 25 feet, they can do it. You know, I mean, they have the authority to set up whatever it is that they need to kind of to clear an area and secure an area, depending on what the circumstances and what's going on. Obviously, if people are engaged in lawful protests, then there's some, sometimes there's a permit for that. I mean, sometimes there's not, but there's a lot of latitude that is given for people who are engaging in lawful protest activities. If they want to go up on the interstate and block the interstate, they're going to clear the interstate. You know, I mean, you don't have a right to block the interstate, and so they're going to make you move. So there's lots of situations where the police make people move, and if you have a crime scene or some other active scene that they're trying to manage, they very often tell you, get back, move back behind that sidewalk, and they will set an area, a line where they're telling everybody to move back. And generally, most people comply with that. It's the, I think most people in the ordinary common sense situation don't want to get in the way of the police doing their job. But we have had lots of situations in recent years where protesters or people who, people are just anti-police,
right,
and they do get in the way of the police. The police may be trying to arrest somebody, and somebody is trying to get in their way with a camera, yelling at the police, trying to interfere with them doing their job.
Last one I
Those
got for you.
people can get arrested right now. So
okay, and see, isn't that the back end of it though? And we have somebody commented on our Facebook chat about how ironically they already can make arrests. This law actually just gets rid of the vagaries of the whole thing. This law makes it easier to understand the get back comment or get back command.
I think that is a good interpretation of it, but it's, the press kind of some press entities jumped out and decided that, we can't abide this. We've got to be able to get closer. And I don't know anybody who really needs to get closer. 25 feet is pretty close.
Yeah. I made the football reference earlier. That is less than a first down. I mean, 10 yards is 30 feet. So you're talking about less than a first down to stand back. We got Attorney General Liz Murrill with us for just another couple minutes. The last one I have for you on this one steps away from the media and goes to everybody else. You mentioned the lawful protester. What does this do to the lawful protest when a police officer steps in and tells everyone else to get back? Does that kind of make the protest disperse, or does this allow for phrasing this question is going to be difficult, but does this not lend towards making protests break up?
Well, I mean, I think that, if there's a lawful protest that's going on, then I think the police generally are not there to interfere with that. I mean, that you do have a lawful right to protest and petition the government, things like that. So, for example, if there's a bunch of people at the state capitol protesting at the state capitol, there's no reason for the police to show up and say, I'm standing right here in this spot. Everybody get back 25 feet. I mean, I don't think that's a reasonable concern.
Right.
That's interfering with somebody that's actually interacting and engaging in a First Amendment protected protest. What is more often likely to happen is that protest devolves into something that isn't lawful. Like some of the occupation of public property, of some of the vandalism of buildings that occurred on some of the pro-Palestinian protests and the Black Lives Matter protests and things like that. I mean, that's not lawful activity. And so the police already don't interfere with lawful activity. That's not what they're there to do.
Right.
But they are there to keep the peace and to make sure that if those activities devolve into unlawful activities, now they have a job to do.
Why, it's the Alting Sterling protests that are going to stay top of mind with me, specifically the ones that were at BRPD headquarters right there at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, is that when you see one person run afoul of the law, is everybody else going to have to scatter? And I'm not saying it's a reasonable argument, because God knows I'm stretching for a reasonable argument on this one. This one feels pretty cut and dry.
Well, certainly, yes, that can happen where some people are engaging in lawful activity and then some other people in the area, like with those protests, start engaging in unlawful activity, and all of a sudden now you've got the police who are trying to stop a riot.
Right.
I mean, at that point, yes. I mean, it's not really lawful activity anymore. It yields to the need to get back public order. So I don't know how you divide those things. I mean, there might be 10 people standing over on a curb. I mean, if those people are not engaging in any unlawful activity, it's still possible that the police need them to move.
Yep. We will continue to follow it as it moves forward. In the meanwhile, we greatly appreciate the time and the insight. Attorney General Liz Murrill, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Always. It's 7:30. Here's news. I looked at my handwriting here. Murrill's with an I, not an E. Okay. Yeah, I actually dot. It looks like an E with a dot over it, and I don't think the dot came through on the copy. It didn't. Okay.
I was immediately just writing fast, and then I realized after I started changing everything.
All good. She's so good. The problem is, like, I do better with her when I disagree with her. You know?
Yep. Yeah, man.
Galen, thanks for the assist. I leaned on your comment during that interview. The table is out. We cook steaks and catching the studio on fire this morning. Troy's an asshole. Don't make me laugh when I got my cough going on, man.
Oh, man.
Oh. No, okay. Moon's in studio today, so that's for his equipment. And I don't know if he's going to need his equipment or he's going to be able to. We'll be able to connect on ours. We're going to effort to connect on ours, but who the hell knows? Man. LRN's doing a story about Doug Nussmeier right now, y'all. And, man, if Kellen Moore is hired and he brings Doug Nussmeier on as OC and the Saints suck this coming year, which is likely, can you imagine the explosion of fandom if they get high enough to draft Nussmeier? And Doug Nussmeier gets to coach his son in New Orleans. Oh. All right. Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser is supposed to be calling here.
Okay.
I have him down for 7:40.
Okay.
So we got time. What you say, Moon? You doing all right?
Hey,
We're
time
gonna
for me
do
to
our
put
level
this up, or what do you want me to do?
Come on, I get Nungesser on the phone here, so I'm good. You good?
Say how the family.
Doing good.
Everybody's rocking and rolling.
Wrapped up the third grade basketball season last night for the boys.
We finished. You know I'm laughing.
Why?
Get all that shit.
Hey, 1-12. 1-12 on the year.
Make you feel better?
Uh-huh.
1 year I coached a team that was supposed to be 6 or 7 players. I ended with 8. And I don't even know if we won the game. It was like 0-8 or something like that. It was horrible. Now the next year, we worked back when I got numbers. I came in second in the league. The best team beat me, and he beat me by 1. And they were better than us, but we kept it good and told the man, "Were you playing 8?" Yeah. No, I played 9. Everybody at 7 had 9. And with 9 players at that age, you got 5 or 6 can't play at all.
Right.
Then you're working with them.
Hang on. All right, today's forecast is probably going to make Moon Griffon believe in climate change. Here's Emma Kate Cowan. It's hot.
We in spring weather. I'm thinking the fish is right, but the fish is still winter. You want me to hook this up, or you think we're going to be able to use the mic?
I think we're going to be able to use a mic, but I hate to have you go through the process just to go through the process.
You have the internet right here still?
I do. I don't know where the cord's at, but it's over there somewhere. The thing is, all the 104.5 is doing all their broadcasts from the Super Bowl. So our engineer and Cade are both down there right now. Yeah, the blue cable. Oh, do not tell me that. Okay, I got another one. I'll go upstairs at the break and get it. Yeah, no, don't mind at all.
I feel better with it.
Oh, no, 100%.
You can do it without it, but sometimes it's building
No,
stuff.
Ethernet, you want it. Yep. Do you know this song, or was that in my... Okay. It's like, nobody knows this song. 738 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. It is carnival time, y'all. Which is why I tell you every day about the folks over at Mathern's. They're your King Cake headquarters, specifically over at the Nicholson Drive location. Nicholson Drive location, when you walk through, you'll see the big Mardi Gras tree. Underneath the Mardi Gras tree, you're going to see all the King Cakes. They got the traditional. They got the filled. They got the fancy if you want to go all Cookie Monster, wedding cake, turtle, whatever. They've got you covered on the King Cake front. Now, we're not done with Mardi Gras balls by any stretch. So if you are going to a Mardi Gras ball and they've asked you to bring a little food, hit up Matherns.com. Catering trays are available. Don't go finger sandwiches. Step it up from there. Go fried catfish. Go boudin balls. Go egg rolls. Bring it. Now, parade time rolls around. Downtown Baton Rouge. Matherns has got you covered there as well. They're right there in between 3rd and 4th Street on the corner of 3rd and Main is the front side. 4th and Main is the back side where they have another entrance right there. Well, 4th and Main is right where the parade turns. So whether you're talking about bringing a king cake to the office, hitting you up for the ball, or parade time and whatever you forgot or need to restock on, Matherns has got you covered all carnival long. Speaking of carnival, big party last night at Mardi Gras World down in New Orleans as we're prepping for the Super Bowl, and today's a day that really ramps up on the schedule. Joining us now to talk about that is Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. Lieutenant Governor Nungesser, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, my friend. How you doing?
I am doing very well. I was down in the Ernest N. Murrill Convention Center yesterday. Things are already buzzing, and Wednesday's the real big day, though. Wednesday's when most of the folks arrive.
Yeah, I tell you, last night was the best party I've ever been to at Mardi Gras World. 6,000 media from all over the world. Every restaurant, type of seafood, 2 stages with Louisiana performers. They even had a grocery store where you could shop free and pick up all Louisiana products to take back home. So really put our best foot forward of Louisiana. Had all the convention and visitor teams from around the state promoting their part of the state to all the media from all over the world. It was a great event.
Why you tell me that, man? I'm so bummed I missed out on that. I was down there, and that was the conversation. Brian, you going? The guys from 104.5 were like, we going or not? And then I came back home to coach third grade basketball, so I guess I chose wrong.
Well, I got home about midnight, and I had to be back on TV this morning at 6, and I'm doing interviews with stations around the country all day, and then I get to introduce Terry Bradshaw, honoring Terry Bradshaw with Terry Bradshaw Day in New Orleans.
Very cool stuff right there. We got Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser with us talking about all the events surrounding the Super Bowl. Let's go back to last night one more time, though, Lieutenant Governor Nungesser, because I don't think people quite understand the impact that has. 6,000 journalists in all media forms, right? Print, bloggers, new digital media, podcasters, traditional TV, traditional radio. Like, you've got everybody under the sun, and what we're doing as a state is sending them off to tell the greatest story about us. Can you put a price on that?
No, and I tell you, when I was at Las Vegas last year learning what we need to do for the Super Bowl, I was blown away that half the convention center here and there was the media. And I remember the last Super Bowl, it was about a third of that. Yeah. So the one thing I asked since we came home, we can't serve them convention food all week. So every day in the convention center, there's a different Louisiana dish. So I want Terry Bradshaw, when he's doing that interview about who's going to win the big game, he says, I don't know who's going to win, but you got to try some of this Louisiana gumbo. So we want all that media bragging about the Louisiana food all week. We can't afford a commercial for the big game, but we sure can feed their soul leading up to the big game and get them talking about Louisiana.
See, and that's why I asked the question about, can you put a price on that? Because you'd have to pay millions of dollars for 30 or 60 seconds worth of airtime during the game. Instead, you send 6,000 journalists out to tell the story for you.
Absolutely. And when they tell it and they're passionate about it, and, I got to give it to our volunteers. We treat strangers like family. And so I see all the people last night that work with New Orleans and Company, all of the tourism folks, North Shore, Lafayette, the Bayou, home of Morgan City. Those folks are talking to people like they've known them their whole life. And everybody leaves Louisiana with a friend for life, and they keep coming back for more. So it's the people that make people feel so welcome. You get that warm and fuzzy feeling. You can't buy that. You can't transport it to another state. It's only in Louisiana.
Was walking back from the Louisiana Now exhibit yesterday over to the media entrance of the convention center. I was having a conversation with a journalist from a B2B sports magazine out of Salt Lake City, Utah. And I put him on with, I was like, if you're a B2B sports magazine, you need to be telling Marucci's story. But I put him on to that, but he could not stop bragging, Lieutenant Governor. He said, I'm supposed to go home on Thursday. I'm already pushing my reservation all the way back where I stay at the hotel back to Saturday. Hopefully I can stay the whole way through now. It's just, New Orleans is doing a great job of putting its best foot forward this time around.
It really is. If you haven't seen the light show on the Cabildo and Presbyterian, I know a lot of people are upset for lighting up the church, but they did it at Notre Dame. They did it at the Vatican, and it's 1 week, but that show is going viral all over the world and gives a new height of awareness to Louisiana and the beautiful Jackson Square, because from the river, that is one of the top photographs taken in all of America. And surely this light show just adds a little bit of flair to it. Just an incredible show that if you're down here, they spent $1 million private money, donations on that light show that'll run through Super Bowl. It's worth coming down. It starts at 6:30 every night, and it's a great show.
Okay, so I heard you on WWL yesterday talking about this. The way this played out is so much bigger than you were originally planning to do.
Well, when Miss Benson asked me to help her light up the Cabildo Preston, the church, a little over a year and a half ago, I said, sure. I figured it was a few lights to light it up and highlight the beauty of it. Mm-hmm. I never dreamed what she had in mind. And partnering with the NFL, this is a Disney-like show that has your attention for the whole, I believe, 30 minutes that it runs to music. It's upbeat. It's got the teams, the Super Bowl trophy, a lot of jazz. So, I haven't seen the whole thing. I did the press conference, but I'll be here Wednesday night in the square, joining a lot of people and Miss Benson here to to watch the whole show.
Okay, so you said some people might have a problem because the light show is on the church itself. It's on St. Louis Cathedral to go along with the Cabildo and the Presbytery. But Lieutenant Governor Nungesser, in San Antonio, Texas, they have a fantastic light show that's on the San Fernando Cathedral that tells the story of San Antonio, and it's an absolutely beautiful light show as well. Is there a chance that this light show could stick around as a permanent attraction?
You know, I asked that, and no, it's 1 week only, because I had a hard time looking at that $1 million for only a week.
Yeah.
But no, it's only going to be for the week. I would like to see some enhanced lighting to light up the whole square, the apartments, Jackson Square, so it shines a little brighter at night. And we can talk about that after the Super Bowl. But yeah, it's just like the icing on the cake for Super Bowl week, and then the parade. You know, no other city can throw a parade like Louisiana, and to have a Mardi Gras parade. Todd Graves is going to be the Grand Marshal of that parade, a great Louisiana ambassador. Just a great opportunity to highlight why New Orleans, why Louisiana does it better than anyone else.
We're talking with Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser, talking about Super Bowl week. Before we wrap up the rest of the week, I got to rewind a little bit. If you could, give us the report card on how New Orleans did with that punch list. I mean, they had a lot they had to knock out ahead of time to get ready on an infrastructure front and a security front.
Well, I think, you know, I got to thank the governor. You know, even before what happened on New Year's Eve, he put Troop Nola in the quarter working with New Orleans police with cameras catching people, facial recognition, catching criminals before it was getting safer. And then by the failure of the mayor to have those bouncers up, the governor stepped in and rented a bunch of them. They're all over the quarter, protecting the convention center, the French Quarter. The governor stepped in and did a great job, his team. And then for the governor to bring the Homeland Security Director down, it gave national attention to how safe the quarter is now, which was so important to visitors feeling safe after the Super Bowl. And a lot of the things that they've put in place will stay long after the Super Bowl Mardi Gras and make the quarter a lot safer for years to come. And I think we're well on our way to talking, and when the new mayor gets in next year, about a plan to manage the French Quarter as the gem it ought to be, and kept perfectly clean and safe all the time, and something I've tried to do for the last 8 years. So we've done a lot of work. DOTD did an incredible job putting out a contract, cleaning up all the roads in and out of Louisiana. They're really looking good. Hopefully we can get the legislature to fund that contract long term to keep Louisiana beautiful. That was moved under my office years ago. I tell you what, Sidney Torres cleaning up the quarter. He's down here himself. He has a love and passion for this city, and I'm so glad that he's back cleaning up the quarter.
We got about a minute and a half left with Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. Okay, you mentioned Terry Bradshaw Day. You mentioned the parade. What else is on tap for your schedule for the remainder of the week? I mean, I know there's more than 400 parties going on around the city, like official parties going on around the city. What's on your schedule for the rest of the week?
Well, I'm going to be going to the Taste. They've got a big food event again tomorrow night. The governor has an event Friday night. Ms. Benson's invited me to an event on Saturday. I'll be riding in the Super Bowl parade. I tell you, they've got all week the culture experience down at the French Market. I'll be going down there Thursday and actually meeting some out-of-town media to show them the French Market, the Mint, the Jazz Museum, all that end of the quarter, and enjoying those festivities. And that's open to the public, and everybody should come see the light show. That is just you don't want to miss it. It's an incredible opportunity that you won't get another chance to see.
Absolutely. He is Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. Enjoy the rest of the week. We'll let you go into hibernation for about a week after the Super Bowl, and then get you back on and talk about carrying that momentum into Mardi Gras.
All right, my friend. Have a good day.
You too. We'll talk to you soon. It's 7:50. Here's your money now. Am I too soon? Okay. As soon as the top of the hour. Yeah. Hey, kill the mics for a second. Hey. Jason, good to see you. Yeah, a little bit early. We're all right, though. Hang tight. I got this segment and the first segment of the next hour. Just have a seat if you want. Here we go. Talk 1073 is now on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel at Talk 1073 Baton Rouge right now, and all subscribers will be eligible to win tickets to see A Night of Comedy with Jim Gaffigan and Sebastian Maniscalco. Thursday, February 20th at the Smoothie King Center down in New Orleans. Watch and subscribe today at the Talk 1073 Baton Rouge YouTube channel. Back to our top story of the day. No, it's not the Super Bowl, though it should be. No, our top story for this morning. By the way, thanks to Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. He's going to be run on a more Red Bull than Rocco right now. I mean, it's just, John, you know when Rocco comes in here and he's all, or what's the new ones, the Alanis?
Alanis,
when
yeah.
He's just firing back energy drinks.
Oh, man.
Maybe not today, but by tomorrow or Friday, Lieutenant
really
Governor Billy Nungesser is going to be like, brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. It's so round the clock. But yes, while that is one top story for today, Senator Cassidy voting yes for RFK Jr. as HHS Secretary is a big deal. It's a big deal. One of the things that I picked up on when Senator Cassidy, I should have had John dig this up. Senator Cassidy gave a closing speech after the questioning of RFK Jr. And in his closing remarks, he said, I've got to balance this whole non-vaccine or anti-vaccine take versus the bigger picture. And he told RFK Jr., he said, I'm going to be talking to you over the weekend. And that was my key takeaway that told me he was going to vote yes. When Senator Cassidy told RFK Jr., as just part of an aside, not part of his questioning, part of his closing comments, when he said, we're going to talk over the weekend, that told me everything I needed to know. That told me the conversation's going to happen. No one's going to be pigeonholed or pinned down on the record. It's not going to be about the back and forth questioning that's in front of the Senate. We're going to chat man to man. I'm going to talk with you man to man, and we're going to come to an agreement man to man. But in order to do that, you've got to be away from the cameras. You've got to be away from the microphones. You've got to be able to hammer things out the same way Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill used to hammer things out in the Oval Office. You're going to be able to do things mano a mano. Have a little bit of a handshake going on. Have a little bit of a gentleman's agreement going on. That's how you work through the problems, and that's how you get to a good discernment and a good vote. Senator Cassidy said he did talk with Kennedy over the weekend.
It was a decision I studied exhaustively. I took very seriously. And as I said I would, I spoke with Mr. Kennedy not once, but multiple times over the weekend, including this morning.
And it wasn't just a one-sided conversation. He talked and he listened.
We had in-depth conversations about the medical literature, about the science behind the safety of vaccines. He referred me to studies and to people. I reviewed them and spoke to those whom he mentioned I should speak to.
Now, vaccines were going to garner all the headlines because, that's the biggest point of contention, right? They agreed on so many other things. In fact, Senator Cassidy talked about a lot of the things they agree on. Cut 7.
Now, I heard from others impassioned about the need to address chemicals in our food and a belief that we are victims of large impersonal forces maximizing profits while sacrificing our health. And there is evidence for that. Although food safety is principally a USDA concern, I strongly agree that this is an issue society must address.
And that proved to be, that along with the whole scope of transparency, along with the whole scope of keeping our nation or getting our nation back to a greater level of health, when it came down to it, the vaccines was compartmentalized. That whole thing compartmentalized. You get the whole scope, the whole picture, and that's where the vote came down from. So it played out well. It played out very, very well. Regardless of your take on Robert F. Kennedy Jr., either way, seeing two dudes get together, hammer it out, and just come to a reasonable agreement, that's a positive in my mind because we can still talk. We can still have relationships and conversations. It's 8 o'clock. Here's news.
When things just on, you can't feel your foot. They all fun. Glad to be here, but they all fun. I got to make sure this hooks up, and I'm hoping he's going to be able to work from the microphone. Boy, that makes it easy if you can use that instead of this. It's natural right there, brother. We'll see. What you got to do, just switch something over. I think you got to make some kind of switch over just to make sure that they're connecting. But I like to do that, but I want to make sure we got this without that cable in here because of the big buildings. I don't get out on the internet. The Wi-Fi doesn't work as strong. But when you plug that cable in, it usually works perfect. Do I, brother? I don't. It don't have to be that long. I got the machine right there. Just you can plug it in the right deal. My machine ain't that dude. It's gonna be plenty long. Yeah, we're good. We're good. I'm gonna let you do the hard work, and I'm gonna do the easy work.
I'm gonna crawl underneath there.
You're younger, man. You go under there. I got knees that go all kind of ways. Well, I keep telling everybody that. But they believe it, so watch it all anyway. Give it. Yeah, that's it. So I made you go on left for nothing. Yeah. Sue me later. No, we're good.
Oh.
Right in.
But make sure it's connected to something because that goes into a pipe that comes out the other side, where all the other cords are. All right, then you good to go. Oh, good. Yeah. Had a piece of like dead skin on the side of my pinky, and that's a little blood.
When you going back on,
8:06, so about 2.5 minutes. Yeah, you got a minute.
I'm gonna try to get out of your way by then. If Skillet Head answers the phone. He got mad at me this morning. I said, but God is known that it's gone.
Oh.
Hey, can you see if you can hear me? Because I'm connected. Okay. I'll tell you what you do. Text me because they're going to be back on the show and I'll come back in at the break. But, text me if you can hear it because you got to send it down where we can hear it. All right. That means that when you press the button, I'm gonna be able to hear Kate. Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. The worst guy to do this today. Ain't nothing worse than panic. Look, 31 years of doing some stuff on the road for the last, say, 25.
Yeah.
I had everything that can disastrous happen. I don't worry about it. We got to take it, put it in. On New Orleans, call them up, people. I mean, what you want me to do? There's always a chance, but I'm hoping we can use this studio.
You're on in New Orleans now, right? Where at? 990? Okay. So I was driving down yesterday when I lost you by the right before the spillway. I could not for the life of me. Well, I moved over to WWL. They're trying to be boring. WWE. Yeah, but it's like, well, no, it's so
WWF
it's
is local.
yeah.
No, they are local. You're right.
They're just boring. All good. We'll do. 806 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Busy hour for you this hour. DC Current presented by LABI. Congresswoman Julia Letlow slated to join us at 8:35. 8:15, we got Jason Suitt coming in from Visit Baton Rouge. What kind of overflow business does Baton Rouge see from the Super Bowl? Do we see hotel rooms? Do we see added passengers on flights? Or do we see those day trips, those side trips? We'll talk with Jason in our next segment. Going to get you to this day in history in exactly 60 seconds, but I do have to ask you what you're doing for lunch. Might I recommend, as I love to do, the folks over at P.F. Chang's, right there in Town Center off Corporate Boulevard. Look for the giant golden horse. P.F. Chang's, one of my favorites. Y'all already know. You know what? I love P.F. Chang's, and you know why. It's either whether you're talking about a business lunch, whether you're talking about taking the wife out for date night or taking the whole family out, they've got you covered with the ambiance. They've got you covered with the service, and they've really got you covered with the food. Oh, by the way, they got you covered at the bar as well. How about the Cherry Blossom Martini with lemon juice, pineapple juice, real lychee syrup, real strawberry puree, and the Saint Germain elderflower liqueur? Oh, yeah, it's pink. It's so girly, but it looks absolutely delicious. One of the many options that's at the bar. By the way, while we're talking about the options at the bar, you can get bites at the bar as well. You can also get exclusive chef specials like the oolong Chilean sea bass and the salt and pepper prawns, both available at P.F. Chang's right now. In Town Center, off Corporate Boulevard. Look for the giant golden horse. All right, time for this day in history. Let's roll. All right, John, what you got?
All right, starting off in 1870, where the first motion picture shown to a theater audience airs in Philadelphia.
What was it?
Yeah. What's that?
What was it?
That's an even better question. I don't have it.
Oh, wow. They didn't say what the first motion picture was?
They didn't say, no.
All right, I'll Google that.
Funny enough, 1897, it was the first time a motion picture was seen in Hawaii. So it took them a while to catch up, but
yeah.
Hey, 1937, FDR proposes.
I thought my internet was slow. You said 1870?
1870 for the first motion picture shown in Philadelphia, and then 1897 for the first one shown in Hawaii.
Okay.
1937, FDR proposes enlarging Supreme Court. Court packing. The plan was failed.
Yep.
The plan has failed. Had failed.
Mm-hmm.
1953, Peter Pan animated film by Walt Disney opens at Roxy Theater, New York. So speaking of a lot of theater, a lot of entertainment. Hey, 1969, the United States population reaches 200 million.
What?
Yep. 1971, Apollo 14, the third U.S. manned-moon expedition, lands near from Morrow? I don't know. Alan Shepard and Edward Mitchell aboard walk on the moon for 4 hours.
Okay. Who was the first one?
What's that? It said it lands near Fra Moreau.
Oh, okay.
Alan Shepard and Edward Mitchell.
Yeah, all right. I knew the names. I didn't recognize that first thing. That was a place, not a name. All right.
All right, yeah, that's why it threw me off, the way it was worded. Let's see, 92 here. Jury selection begins in the trial of Los Angeles police with charged with the beating of Rodney King.
Yep.
Today. Let's see, 2014 here. U.S. President Barack Obama and journalists globally call for the release of three journalists that were detained in Egypt.
Okay.
Today, so they call for the end of that. 2016, computer hackers try to steal $1 billion from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York.
How'd that work?
Yeah. Well, they stole they stole 81 million before a typo alerts authorities.
Oh, okay.
So
before a typo alerted authorities,
I guess so.
like Office Space.
Right.
I forgot to round down.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I didn't even make that.
Come on, that was 2016. What happened the next year?
What
Get
happened?
to it. Get to it.
No, tell me.
2017. Get to it.
Honestly, if I'm being honest, that was the end of my list.
On this day in 2017 at NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas, the Atlanta Falcons had the 28-3 lead over the New England Patriots and blew it. Tom Brady brings the Pats back from a 25-point deficit. First time the Super Bowl went to overtime, but more importantly, the Falcons lost, and that's all that matters in life.
That's all that matters. Oh, man. Moving on to birthdays?
Sure.
Let's see. At the top of my list here, I have Hank Aaron.
Yep.
And also, let's see who else. Let's get a few more people here. Actor or comedian Tim Meadows.
Yep.
Let's see. Who else you got over
I
there?
had a big day in soccer with both Neymar and Ronaldo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Cristiano Ronaldo, born on this day in 1985, 1992 for Neymar. You had mentioned. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Got a couple more here. Laura Linney.
Okay.
Actress Laura Linney.
Yep.
Director and screenwriter Michael Mann. He was born on this day in 1943. And Roger Staubach was the other one I had.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Moving on to deaths here. Let's see. Kirk Douglas.
Oh.
In 2020.
Okay.
Let's see. Toby Keith, country music star. Toby Keith.
Yep.
1 year today.
Wow,
man.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got Leon Spinks, former boxer Leon Spinks, died on this day in 2021. And Christopher Plummer.
Okay.
Same day, 2021.
Wow.
Yep.
As far as national days go today, National Weatherman's Day.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll take it. That's fine. National Weatherman's Day. Good deal. 812 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Quick break. When we come back, let's talk with Visit Baton Rouge next. Come on over.
This one, that one.
You what?
This one.
This one right here.
So we're talking about just things going on in here around.
Yeah, we'll talk about like what kind of overflow we get. You said last name's pronounced Suitt?
Yeah, Suitt, like a Suitt area, yeah. Yeah, the extra T I think always throws people off. So.
Yeah. Hey, did you already save the Liz Murrill interview? Send it to Palermo, please.
So the Lieutenant Governor was good.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure he's eating it up. I know they had a media event last night.
Yeah, big party at Mardi Gras World.
Yeah, because a couple of our folks went down. And
I was supposed to be at that.
Oh yeah.
I'd never make it to work.
Yeah, I know. Getting back out of there in the morning, get back up here.
But it looked amazing.
Yeah, I just went through all that.
816 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Did I forget to mention that this day in history brought to you every day by the folks over at 5 Star Printing and Signs? Hey, give a look around your office real quick. Check out your if you get those manual invoices, give those a look. Give your business cards a look. Give the signage on your wall a look. Anything you have printed that engages with the customer and you want to put your best foot forward, Danny and his team are here for you. 271-4096, 271-4096, or printshop5.com. You want to find them in real life in Denham Springs. They're just off Range Avenue, right next door to Big Mike's. It's 5 Star Printing and Signs. All right. Super Bowl's going on down in New Orleans. We are an hour away. What does that mean for tourism in Baton Rouge? Do we get overflow? Let's welcome in from Visit Baton Rouge. I want to welcome in Jason Suitt. Jason, good morning. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me on here.
No, glad to have you on. Glad to be talking about this. All right, if we have time on the back end, I kind of want to get the rundown of everything we're expecting for this year because it should be a big year in Baton Rouge. But let's start with what kind of overflow do we see from the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest thing to say, and we know, is going to be people in our hotels. I know in 2012, I believe the number was right about 80% occupancy in our hotels, which is kind of aligns with an LSU home football game weekend. And I know there are several of our hotels that I've talked to in the last couple of weeks that are packed. A couple of the ones downtown, a couple of the ones out here on the College Drive area. And so that's where we're going to see the most impact, I think, is through the hotel stays and probably from the fan side.
Okay.
Because I think, if the Kansas City fans were probably a little proactive and they might have got in before the NFL took up all the rooms in New Orleans. But definitely, I think from the Eagles side, not 100% knowing if they're going to make it all the way, by the time they get there, there's no rooms left down there, and there's only that's where you're going to get it up this way. And
how difficult is it to keep that battle up? Because when you can when we're here in Louisiana, we think an hour away is a world away.
Yeah.
But when you look at the other markets where the Super Bowl's held, if you look at Los Angeles or Miami,
that's a common drive for them, right? Yeah.
Right. That should be an easy sell for us. So there's a market to be had on that front.
Yeah, and we've pushed that message out there of staying in Baton Rouge. I know our marketing folks did some stuff around the championship games, AFC and NFC. And I know they also have done some digital marketing targeted to the Kansas City fans and the Eagles fans in those markets. Talking about, stay in Baton Rouge, the proximity, our hotels. Obviously, we're going to be less than a hotel. Like I heard the other day, there's some down there, $2,500 a night, and I think our most expensive here in town probably $400 or $500 in that range. So that's big. I mean, that's a big plus for us.
What else do we need to sell along with the hotels? Because I would imagine when you're looking for that overflow market, you are battling probably Biloxi.
Yeah. Anything along this kind of I-10 corridor, from 2 hours probably out, right?
Yeah.
I think Lafayette's probably going to get some rooms too.
Oh wow,
probably. And on the other side, going out to Biloxi, maybe as far as Mobile potentially.
Okay.
Depending on what people are looking for, but definitely Baton Rouge is the closest big metropolitan area.
Well, what you have there is not just distance, but you're within the same state. Because
Exactly.
there's that mental perception of if you're in Biloxi, you're roughly the same distance away, but you got to cross state lines. There's a perception battle there.
Exactly.
We're talking with Jason Suitt from Visit Baton Rouge about overflow from the Super Bowl. Now, if you're coming to town and you're staying in Baton Rouge, are we going to see more who are driving here, or does the airport see an uptick as well?
I think you'll see the airport. I think that's a fair thing to say. The New Orleans airport, let's face it, probably starting tomorrow on Thursday, it's going to be crazy. 24 hours a day. Well, so, if you want to look at an alternative, particularly if you're staying here in Baton Rouge instead of flying into New Orleans and have to get a rental car and come up here and so forth and so on, it's an easy alternative to come in. Our airport is set up so well just to come in and out of, the ease of getting in and out of it, and the proximity to get to our hotels and to get to the places people are staying. It's a very attractive option if you don't want to go down and be in the middle of all the big crowd coming in through New Orleans. So
What do we do for tracking? Is there any way to get discernible numbers that says this is that?
Yeah, particularly on the hotel side. We got some mechanisms in place and some platforms that we use that track those numbers, and we should have those here in the next few weeks, kind of the final numbers. We also have some other software that we have access to that can kind of use and let us know where people are moving in the city, and it compares like this time frame to prior time frames and then time frames after, like 2 weeks prior, 2 weeks after, so we can see kind of the spike of movement and all that. And then obviously from the airport, standpoint, I'm sure they'll be able to pull the numbers as early as next week to be able to see what kind of, passenger flow they had coming in and out too. So there will be, actual numbers we can put on this and look at it. So.
Right. Well, when you think about just from like a transient, just a traveler.
Yeah.
If I'm hopping on one of the websites to get on, if I'm hopping on like an Expedia or whatever, I'm not telling Expedia why I'm going to Baton Rouge.
Exactly.
But we are still able to track it.
We can still see those numbers of how many people stay in the city, the occupancy rate, and all that.
Just by year over year type things.
Yeah, it's a service we subscribe to that provides those numbers, and it allows us to look at it, compare it to past years, and see where maybe holes are that we could try to fill with different events and things like that. So yeah, we have all those mechanisms in place, and we'll be able to show those numbers. I mean, just on Monday, I can tell you this: just on Monday, this past Monday, just the other day, I got an email from a law enforcement agency that was looking for close to 200 rooms a night here in Baton Rouge.
For this week?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if they were some added security at the last moment that the NFL is trying to bring in or whatever, but obviously they can't get down in New Orleans, so I've got them in place with some of our hotels in town. So
very cool stuff.
Yeah, so I mean that's they'll be here for at least 2 nights, 3 nights probably. So I mean 200 rooms a night, that's 600 room nights right there, right? So
600 room nights in February is nothing to shake a stick at.
Yeah.
We got Jason Suitt from Visit Baton Rouge talking about overflow from the Super Bowl. All right, let's talk a little bit about getting down there and selling Baton Rouge as well, because a big part of this year's Super Bowl, Susan Bourgeois, LED Secretary, has put up this Louisiana Now thing. Tourism is something we want to sell as well. Is Visit Baton Rouge getting in the thick of it? Are we making our way down there to let the folks know, hey, take a side trip up this way?
Yeah. Like we are, our marketing and comms, team is on that. They were just down there last night with the Office of Tourism.
Yep.
In the media event they had down at Mardi Gras World and had a presence there. I know they're going to be down there a good part of today as well before they head back. So, and I think there are some other pieces with the Office of Tourism who we work closely with some other things they're doing as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely an opportunity for us to get in front of some people so they can talk about Baton Rouge and help spread the message and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 1 hour side excursion to come up here.
Yeah,
and when you think about it from the perspective of if you traveled in and you're there for the week, because you'll have like the mandatory minimum night stays.
Yeah.
So you got time to kill.
Exactly.
Sure.
You're going to be looking for things to do and, places to go, not only in New Orleans, but around New Orleans and check out the whole culture of South Louisiana.
What do we push to them? What do we promote when it comes to that sort of thing? Like, say I'm Random Joe from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I'm in New Orleans. What's going to pop up on my digital ad or pop up that Visit Baton Rouge is letting me know about in Baton Rouge?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're kind of a happy alternative to New Orleans, right? We have a very similar culture to New Orleans, I feel, and particularly with our food culture and all that. And of course, we got LSU and Southern here that are big, like attractions as well. Yeah. But we don't have kind of that big, huge, real touristy type feel that New Orleans can get, especially in the downtown area,
right?
Like around Bourbon. So if you want a little bit more of a laid back experience, to come here and really take in the culture, take in the food, take in LSU, go check that out, see Mike Tiger, go, check out Southern where the Red Stick was, founded basically,
right.
And all that. So I think that's what we have to offer is kind of a different feel to that South Louisiana culture that people can experience.
I never really thought about the difference in price for the hotel rooms.
Yeah.
I mean, you said that a few minutes ago, and that is astounding to me. To go from 2,500 down to 400 at the very most, and I don't even know if we're going to find 400 right around here, but they might be getting it at a couple of locations. But
like our higher end, hotels are pushing that.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I mean, that's just even at that, the thought of saving $2,100 a night. I mean, that's okay.
Yeah, sign me up if I'm doing it, right?
That pays for the flight, that pays for the rental car,
Exactly.
that pays for all the food.
Exactly.
I mean, basically, you make up the rest of your budget by doing it that way.
Yeah.
We got a couple minutes left with Jason Suitt from Visit Baton Rouge. Do we still partner with the plantations up and down the river to kind of make the whole tour go?
There are those things that we do. We push all those, like attractions around town and around the area as well, right?
Yeah.
So with all of our events, we come in, from my end, I deal with a lot of the sporting events. So I have sites that I can send them that has all of those attractions around town that, gets people out spending money in the area, in the community that, ultimately drives tax revenues up. So.
All right, let's fast forward, or I should say, let's look ahead.
Yeah.
What else is on the calendar for this year? I know you handle sports end.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at from your end?
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot going on from the sports side. Obviously, that doesn't even count like when we do in conventions and meetings. Probably the biggest thing coming up to probably mention is our bowling event coming up here in about a month. Yes. The USBC Open Championships, and the numbers are just crazy when you talk about it. We're looking at, well over 11,000 teams, almost 12,000 teams, 5 bowlers per team. So, call it 58,000 bowlers, that's just the bowlers themselves, not including if they bring a guest with them or family or whatever.
Right.
And so, I mean, it's very possible to have a total of 90,000 people coming in town for this from, March 1st through July 28th, 150 days of bowling.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought the longevity of this up, because I remember the last time the Bowling Congress was in town, it was amazing, and the numbers and the revenue was through the roof. Mm-hmm. And I had Paul Arrigo on down there every day to talk about it, because what we miss as Baton Rougeans is because of that longevity, it's not like an LSU football game.
Correct.
Because of that longevity, you're not getting, 12,000 teams times 5 bowlers per team. You're not going to see 60,000, 90,000 people all at once. You're talking about sustained revenue over the course of a number of months. You're talking about occupancy rates at hotels just ticking up by 10, 15% a night.
Yeah.
But it's every night.
Yeah, it's basically the like a equivalent of having a 400 to 500 person conference in town for 150 straight days.
Yes.
So if you think about it that way, and think about like they're going to be in hotels. I mean, every 3 to 4 days, there's going to be a new, round of folks coming in for that. And so, I mean, if you just look at the numbers, and it's really like mind blowing when you start thinking about it and the data and all that.
Well, because adding it up at the end of it, and that's the most fun part. Oh, while we're talking about that, we're going to run out of time. We got to get you back on soon, because we haven't even taled to youth sports and what a juggernaut that is.
Yeah, it is. It's, last year in 2024, just an example, we had over 92 events, $52 million in economic impact. So it's a huge thing.
Yeah, we're going to dedicate an entire segment to that in the near future, because I was up at Washington Mardi Gras, did a segment with Lafayette. Mm-hmm. They're pushing the youth sports. North Shore's pushing the youth sports. This is an absolute honeypot. Yeah. But last one on the Bowling Congress. Are we going to have the same number of events at the River Center that's going to be open to the public? I mean, as Baton Rougeans, can we take part?
Yes. I think there is some opportunities there if people want to go in there and view it. I don't think it's like necessarily a ticketed event. Right. I think it's more just kind of come in. We actually have a media opportunity coming up here in a couple of weeks, and we'll be able to share that with all of our media to kind of get that word out and all that. So, but yeah, it's going to be a great event for us.
I think I'm in that one.
Probably so. I just sent it to Gordy the other day to let him know about it. So
I'm pretty sure I'm bowling.
Yeah,
so he is Jason Suitt from Visit Baton Rouge. Man, I appreciate a couple minutes this morning.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we got Congresswoman Julia Letlow. It's DC Current presented by LABI. Sorry, I meant to mention this on the front end. I worked in hotels before I worked in radio.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So
you're familiar with that?
Yep. And I know how difficult it is to get front desk agents to, why are you coming to town? I know how hard that tracking is.
Yeah.
But I know we could do a lot more with the analytics that come through the online stuff than we used to be able to do by taking the phone reservation.
Yeah, that like star report that we get, it just tells us the week, of what the numbers are, because they have to report it. Hotels have to report it to them, and we get that, and then we can obviously correlate that
Yes.
with events we know that are in town, and we can kind of make that correlation in the spikes and all that. So here in probably in 2 weeks we'll have that number, and be able to really see what that drive.
Well, let's get you back on. We'll do the follow up for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And the look ahead to the bowling.
Yeah, happy to talk about it. And not only bowling, we got the first professional pickleball tournament coming in town in Louisiana, PPA Tour, Firefighter Challenge event, the old school. If you remember on ESPN where they do the things,
Yep.
It's that event. We have that coming in town this year.
How big is that?
It'll be probably about 100 to 120 firefighters competing in it, but they'll be here for 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
And so obviously all the youth baseball. I mean, we do tons of youth baseball, youth all that. We got it's crazy all the stuff, all the opportunities we have in the sports side and just my side. It's exciting. We have the WNBA game coming up.
That's right.
I'm working with that group. We got some other things that are in the mix with LSU that I'm hoping that.
When is that WNBA game?
May 2nd.
Did he already lift audio from the show?
Sounds like it.
So we're partnered with the Louisiana Radio Network, so that soundbite that's being used statewide.
From earlier today,
So good. Angel Reese coming back home. That's what it was.
Yeah, Angel Reese come.
I want to see what we can do to promote that, possibly put it on the air.
Yeah, I actually talked to Gordy about that the other day, and because I think that group, that promoter group, is interested in doing some media things around it, maybe some giveaways and stuff like that. So I need to connect. He's going to be coming to town later this month, so I need to connect him with Gordy. So
okay.
But yeah, there's a bunch of those opportunities we have coming up this year. That a lot of fun stuff in the works, and like I said, we got one. I'm working on one big one with LSU that hopefully we can push it through and see if it can work out. So.
Wait, are mics on?
I'm going to find out more about it today. So.
All right.
But yeah.
Well, yeah. However I can help.
Yeah.
We're here for you.
Yeah.
So.
Same here.
Go through Gordy. Go through me. Whichever.
Yeah.
But yeah. I love promoting Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
And just that's the long and the short of it.
Yeah.
The airport's a sponsor of the show.
Sure.
And I mean, we all have vested interest in this. What I love about it, and I used to tell Enrico this all the time, is y'all's business model from a conservative standpoint. If you don't hunt, you don't eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like your revenue is based solely off of hotel motel tax. Yeah. If you don't hunt, you don't eat.
We don't bring in the events.
If we could make every governmental entity like that, it would be like a conservative's dream.
Yeah.
So,
and from my end, I love this industry just because I can show you what the impact is, right? Of what we bring in, and how it impacts the quality of our lives by what we're able to bring in. And I don't think in the past, I don't know if Visit Baton Rouge is. I've been with us for about a year and a half, 2 years now, and I don't know if a lot of people know what we do and how we can impact what we do, and all that, and particularly on the sports side. I don't know if anybody realizes that.
What's amazing is on the sports side, specifically the youth sports side, nobody knows.
They see it because they see a team at a restaurant at lunch or something like that, but they don't get the whole thing.
Right, and you would think they would because their own kids are playing.
Yeah.
And they're spending weekends in Monroe and Little Rock and wherever the hell else.
I mean, there's a couple of tournaments that Traction does that brings in well over 150, 170 teams.
Yeah.
That's 15 players per team.
Right.
2.3 people per player. If family, siblings, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whatever, and yet those numbers just kind of snowball.
Yeah, so it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. So
good. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure. Yeah, like I said, you got my number. Feel free.
Yes, I do.
If you need me for anything, so
We'll do. All over it.
Take care.
You too.
Have a good one. Nice meeting you.
It's already 70 degrees. He's good. He was good. Oh. Like I teased last hour, it's a forecast that'll make Moon Griffon believe in climate change. We got a high of 82 today with an overnight low of 66. We're getting up to 82 again tomorrow, 80 on Friday, 83 on Saturday and Sunday before more rain rolls in next week. Monday and Tuesday, and for that matter, Wednesday, we've got a significant chance of rain, 80% on Monday and Tuesday, then down to 60% on Wednesday. That's going to cool things off a little bit, but not a whole lot. You're high on Tuesday, 73. Wednesday will top out at 63, and we'll probably stay in the 60s for another day or two after that. Right now, clear skies, 70 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Eight. 8:37, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Don't forget Coach Kim Mulkey and the LSU Tigers hit the road to face Missouri tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m., and then Sunday at 3, they're going to host Tennessee. Here are the Tigers all season long on your home for LSU women's basketball. That is Talk 107.3 FM. It is time for DC Current, presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Joining us now is 5th District Congresswoman Julia Letlow. Congresswoman Letlow, how are you this morning?
Hey, Brian, I'm a little bit jealous because I just heard about those warm temperatures you're having down there, and it's 30 degrees up in D.C.
Okay, so the jealousy's reversed right there because, I mean, like, it's February. It's supposed to be cold, right?
That's fair. But I'm a Southern girl. I like those warm temperatures.
Yes, 100%. First question and the most pressing question we're going to have all day. Are you recovered from Washington Mardi Gras yet?
That is a fair question, and I am. I finally got my voice back, and I'm ready to rock and roll up in D.C., but my goodness, it was a fun time up here. For everybody who came, I'm really grateful that they came to celebrate.
And you think about it, it was actually a lighter crowd because of the weather, because of the snowstorm and all that. But, man, getting a look at your schedule at Washington Mardi Gras and the number of just stops along the way, you were running a marathon at a sprinter's pace, to be sure.
Absolutely. But, gosh, it's always such an exciting time to see everybody from down in Louisiana coming up to D.C. And it's also a time for me to hear about their concerns and issues and find out what's important to them so that we can be working on those projects up in D.C. So it's fun time, but it's also work.
Yeah, absolutely it is. We got Congresswoman Julia Letlow with us. This is DC Current, presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, your state's Chamber of Commerce. Congresswoman Letlow, I know education is your biggest passion up there on the Hill. Back home, we got ourselves a report card and a pretty good one. Louisiana coming in with their highest ranking ever. What were your takeaways from it?
Oh, my goodness. It's total excitement. You know, our state's emphasis on improving education is working. That's the take home. But, of course, we have more work to do, but so much to be proud of. I mean, to go from 43rd to 32nd in the national report card is higher than ever before. One out of just 2 states with higher fourth grade results than pre-pandemic. And Louisiana's fourth graders led the nation in reading gains. I'm so excited for what this means for Louisiana. We're moving in the right direction. I'm so proud of our superintendent, Cade Brumley, and also all the teachers and the administrators and the parents who made this possible. Wow, what an incredible achievement.
How do we advance it from here? How do we move? And we're not going to see another jump like that, obviously, because, you know, you're going to have diminishing returns as you move up the charts. But how do we move from 32nd to, say, 28th, 27th?
I think we just keep moving forward, blazing those trails. It starts with great leadership at the top. I think you're seeing how that trickles down and causes those improvements. So, you know, I just think we keep forging ahead. You're not always going to make everyone happy when you take bold risks like that, but when you see the payoff, it's absolutely worth it. So I'm excited about what the future holds, and I just encourage everybody to keep working hard. The sky's the limit.
What's your role in Congress? Because a lot of education is controlled on the state level. What's your role up there on the Hill to bring to make sure we're running smooth back home?
Well, I serve on the Committee of Education and Workforce, and a lot of what we do, Brian, is to get the federal government out of education. You know, we believe that states know best how to educate our children. And so what we spend a lot of our time up here doing is making sure that the Department of Education is not overstepping and making sure that the states have everything they need to educate our children. Because, you know, I said it before, I'll say it again, education is the answer, in my opinion. And so, of course, I'm going to be championing up here, but also working on that committee to make sure states have the rights that they need to make sure that our students are educated and moving forward.
We got Congresswoman Julia Letlow with us, talking a little D.C. Current, presented by LABI. Learn more at labi.org. Congresswoman Letlow, let's pivot to some more things that are a bit more on a national or international scope. The president met with Benjamin Netanyahu the other day? Was it yesterday, I believe? Did you have takeaways from that meeting and what we're looking at with that relationship?
You know, it says a lot about this administration's priorities, that Netanyahu is the first foreign leader Trump chose to met with. You know, the Biden administration too often went against the interests of Israel, such as withholding wartime aid that infuriated all of us that voted to send it over. Yeah, I agree with President Trump that we must always support Israel, our greatest ally, and it's time to work together to bring the final hostages home and create more peace and stability in the region. So I could not be more thrilled that that was his first meeting, and I'm excited about working together with Israel.
The other big headlines, actually most of the big headlines right now are involving the other side of the Capitol and the Senate with confirmation hearings for cabinet members. As a member of the House, I mean, did you just sit by and watch, or how do you take an active role in that?
Yeah, we sit by and watch.
Okay. That's a fair answer. I mean, it's
right.
It's their game.
That's it. That's the way it was set up. The Founding Fathers set it up for the Senate to conduct those hearings and make those confirmations. So we are watching over on this side, anticipating and anxiously waiting for them to be confirmed so we can get to work.
The "so we can get to work" part is a big part of it. So, because how much does this hold y'all up?
Yeah, it's important for secretaries to be able to go in and do their jobs. You know, there's so much a change that occurs with the new administration, and we want to be great partners with them and make sure that we hit the ground running. So any delay that the Senate is if there's any tactical delays, then that just holds up us being able to all work together to move forward that agenda. I think I shared with you before, Brian, but the American people gave us a mandate in November. They expect us to deliver results. It's imperative that those secretaries are in place doing their jobs so we can all work together as government should.
We're talking with Congresswoman Julia Letlow. Let's run down the calendar. What's on tap for this week?
Oh my goodness! I was just going through my schedule, and we have quite the meeting set up. We have people coming up from the district to meet with. Something really special tonight. I've been asked to share my testimony. We have the National Day of Prayer breakfast that happens tomorrow morning, but tonight there'll be a special dinner, and so I'm going to share a little bit of my story and how the Lord has set my path, and so it's just something a little bit special I get to do tonight.
That's pretty cool stuff. Your story is a unique one. I mean, like beyond compare, unique. I'm glad to see someone's taking notice to even ask you to share it.
Well, that's really kind. You know what? Yeah, it's always emotional to share, but I think the Lord gives us testimonies to share and not to keep to ourselves, in the hopes that maybe somebody else who's hurting will find some hope from it. So I'm excited to do it.
100%. We're talking with Congresswoman Julia Letlow. All right, well, on the business though, business this week. What are you working on as a representative?
Yeah, so we are voting this week on a couple of bills. I'm trying to find the name of it. It's Halt Fentanyl Act that will be passing legislation to permanently classify dangerous fentanyl materials as Schedule I drugs. So that's really important to us this week. I'm also headed to the White House today. It's my first time. I'm so excited to watch as the president signs an executive order to make sure that biological men, are not allowed to play in women's sports. As a college athlete myself, that's something that's very near and dear to my heart. We want to make sure that our girls are protected and that men are not playing in those sports. So it's an exciting day for me.
Wait. I got two levels of astonishment over here. Number one, you haven't been invited to the White House yet?
I've been to the Christmas party, but that is the only time I was ever invited and could make it to the White House. So I'm excited. There's a first time for everything.
Yeah, this is, you've been there a good minute. I feel like you should have been over there a couple times at least. Well,
Yeah.
better late than never. So looking forward to that. Second part, you were a college athlete?
Yeah, I was. I ran track and field at the University of Louisiana Monroe. So it was a very tough time. I have a lot of respect for college athletes and the amount of work that they put in. Unfortunately, Brian, I couldn't hang. I decided that there were other extracurricular activities I wanted to be a part of, and so pursued other things after about a year and a half of track and field.
Nah, not seeing it. I'm not seeing the battle that you bow out from. No. We got about 2 minutes left with Congresswoman Julia Letlow. Let's keep it on that topic, though, about the transgendered athletes in sports. This has been an ongoing battle, and it's one that both as a female athlete and as a mother, like you've seen the battle from your constituents. You've seen the battle in the news. How are the arguments different in the headlines versus Main Street?
Yeah, it's baffling to me that anybody could be supportive of biological men being in women's sports. And, even when you talk to colleagues who may not espouse that publicly, behind closed doors, they don't want that for their daughters as well. So you're right. There is a difference in the headlines that are being used. But I think when you really talk to people outside of the media, outside of those headlines, everybody seems to kind of be in agreement of that there's no place for men in women's sports when it comes to their children. So I'm hopeful that we will turn this around.
How do you manage the battle to stay on the side that you believe in without coming across it's all too often the argument gets translated into transgender hate? How do you walk that balance of saying this is the way it needs to be, but it is it's not about hate for somebody who's battling with their own identity?
Absolutely. I think that's where your faith comes in, and we view every human being as a child of the Lord, and everyone deserves love and compassion. But when it comes to certain things like competing in sports, men just biologically have an unfair advantage, and I want my daughter to be able to participate in a fair a sport activity and not have to worry about biological men being there to even be in the locker room, but B, to unfairly have an advantage. And so they just have no place in women's sports. But again, like you said, people who are struggling, we need to have compassion as Jesus would teach us to do.
She is Congresswoman Julia Letlow. Going to be joining us at this time every week, or most weeks. I know the business of the nation comes first before any radio hit, but we appreciate you hopping on board. We'll talk to you about this time next week.
Sounds great, Brian. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That it was DC Current, presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Good first effort, Julia. I'm enamored with, she is so impressive. She's so freaking impressive. All right, the second the show's over, we got to come down so you can hop on with Cade, okay? John Fleming, how are you, man?
This guy right here runs everything.
Yeah, that's John.
Hey, he's the one to know I'm right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you've been coming through. Do what?
He's gonna walk up here and
Who? Cade?
Cade.
No, Cade's in New Orleans. Everybody's in New
Is
Orleans.
somebody gonna come see if we can switch it over?
John's gonna get on the phone with Cade, and Cade's gonna walk him through, sending us through the brick.
Cunningham waiting there if they have to do anything. Because like I got it hooked up now, I may have to go dog solid on this for you to do what you got to do. That good. We'll have when y'all finish what you got. Y'all go right at 9. We have 6 minutes before we go. Yes, it was 6 minutes. 6 minutes is eternity in this business.
Yeah. Yeah, for radio people or Peyton Manning, either way.
Put your foot in your mouth. Put your foot in your mouth. I like how you're saying it like you're going to whisper in my ear, but I can't.
I had said on the air, if he gets elected treasurer, I don't know if he's going to know where to show up for work on day one.
Oh.
This is going to be fun.
I mean,
this is going to be fun. I just wasn't ready for that. I still got to do Vex European.
Okay. Vex European. Got it.
Oh. If Godfather 3 was so terrible, why is it so quotable?
I mean,
our true enemy has yet to reveal himself.
It's the bad ones that are more memorable.
But like,
because they probably, what made it bad was that they had some good nuggets, right?
Yeah.
Very quotable. It just didn't sustain the movie.
Right.
That's what it is.
But like, if you go to quote 1 or 2, like, what are the big quotes?
I mean,
out of 1, my father always told me, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. That's a solid quote.
It's a solid quote.
Out of 2, the quote I use the most is from Hyman Roth. This is the business we've chosen. Which I was using that quote a couple weeks ago when I was staying over when I was living in the building for 2 days because of the freeze.
Living with the ghost.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you had to sleep in the building? That sucks. I'm like, this is the business we've chosen.
Dang it.
Byron says it was never in doubt to me that Cassidy would vote yes. No, same. As soon as I heard his closing statements, I knew that was going to happen. Patrick says, did I hear correctly about Gaza? Have all the homeless vets been taken care of? Wasn't that the argument about spending money elsewhere in the world? How much money's been appropriated for that? I love the fact that he could just lead people into insanity with this. How much money's been appropriated to go take over Gaza? How many troops have been sent over there? None. Having the negotiator in chief, and everybody just bites, hook, line, and sinker. Patrick says, wasn't the F-bombs, it was the words after the F-bombs. I'm waiting for LSU to kick out students that chant STTDB. I don't know that that's an apt comparison. Do you hold students to the same standard that you hold faculty members? That's the one question. And is Tiger Stadium to be given the same level of reverence as the classroom? One is there as an extracurricular for entertainment, and the other is there as a part of your curriculum. I like where you're going with it, though, Patrick. See, that's a good question to ask. Very good question to ask. 856 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right. Oh. Excuse me. My apologies. Good night. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We got one segment to go here. Been a busy show. Thanks again to Richard Sprinkle from the Longman Jackie Back Law Firm for hopping in for Legally Served. Thanks again to Attorney General Liz Murrill, Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser, Jason Suitt from Visit Baton Rouge, and, of course, on our last segment, Julia Letlow, Congresswoman Julia Letlow. A lot of really great conversations today. We do have to hit the outside end, but I do have to remind you about the folks over at Vex European, celebrating 10 years of Vexpertise, y'all. Vinny and his team, they specialize in European and exotic vehicles. Hit up Vex European. If you own a European car, a Mercedes, a BMW, Jaguar, Land Rover, James Bond. If you're James Bond and you own an Aston Martin, you need to hit up VexEuropean.com. If you're Sonny Crockett from Miami Vice, you need to hit up VexEuropean.com. They've got you covered. I drive a 17-year-old Mercedes. I like to think that I'm in the same class as Sonny Crockett, so that's why I go to Vinny and his team over at Vex. I'm paired with a technician that knows the Mercedes inside and out, so I know I'm getting the best level of service. You got a 17-year-old car, it needs a little TLC, and that's exactly what I get at Vex European. VEX, V as in Vinny. VexEuropean.com. They're on Benefit Drive in the backside of Industrialplex. VexEuropean.com. All right, time for the outside in. Can I make it the last minute and a half of the show without another coughing spell? Here we go. Starting off in West Baton Rouge Parish, 3 people were arrested for their involvement in a deputy-involved shooting on Sunday, according to the sheriff's office out there. West Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office arrested 17-year-old Javen Edwards, 21-year-old Eugene George Jr., and 19-year-old Terrell Davis for their involvement in the shooting. Heading over to Calcasieu Parish, a Lake Charles woman is accused of murder in the death of a 3-month-old baby. Calcasieu Parish Sheriff's deputies booked the child's babysitter, 40-year-old Shirley Sawyer, with first-degree murder. Her bond is set at $2.5 million. Closing out in New Orleans with 2 different stories. Number 1, state health officials are investigating neurovirus-like symptoms tied to oysters. As a precaution, the Department of Health has shut down harvesting in Area 3. They've ordered a recall of all oysters collected from there since January 10th. That area is east of Lake Bourne and inside the Chandeleur Islands and surrounding marshes. While we're down in New Orleans, today is the opening of the NFL Experience. So, football fans, if you were making a trip down, today things really open up at the Ernest N. Morial Convention Center. Take note of all the traffic precautions before you go down there. And like Lieutenant Governor Nungesser said, if you want to stick around, go over to Jackson Square, get a look at the cathedral at night. The light show is ridiculous. All right, that's it for us today. Full slate tomorrow, including Dr. Cade Brumley. We got a cup of tech gumbo. We got a lot coming your way. We'll see you then. Moon Griffon's in studio next. All right.
So you can connect with my deal?
No.
Right now, I'm connected with the station.
Let him get Cade on the phone first.
Okay. I think what he's going to, you got to check with that, though, because if I got to turn it off for you to hook in while I'm